This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, bring me a bucket and I'll show you a bucket.
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show where there ain't no rest for the wicked. My name is Gepwin, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Izix.
Hi.
And since we're between seasons, broadly, as we define seasons, we've done our usual thing where we try to get an interesting movie and an interesting guest star to come on who picks the movie so that you can blame the guest star for the movie, because this isn't our fault. So this week, we have Kyle the Scot, who does these amazing video essays on YouTube that I absolutely love and has a podcast that I will let him explain. So hello, Kyle.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It was so nice of you to invite me on your show. So I just figured I would repay it by punishing you. By making you watch Borderlands.
Yeah. Through happenstance, it is the second worst movie that I saw that month.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay.
How did you manage that?
What was the worst?
One of my friends became obsessed with Showgirls, which was not, the worst movie. But then he found out that there is a Showgirls 2.
I've even heard of Showgirls too.
Yeah, nobody has. It is largely sort of fan-made. It stars the actor who played her friend, like the side character in Showgirls 1. Mm-hmm. It was funded through Kickstarter. It is for some reason almost 3 hours long.
Oh my god.
Oh, editing, folks, editing.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yes, it is near unwatchable. So at least this was better than that.
Small miracles, eh?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's definitely shorter, so that's a big positive.
I know, I pulled up Borderlands to watch earlier so I could get the script, etc., etc. And I was like, well, at least it's only 90 minutes, that's fine.
In and out, that's what you want in a movie. Am I supposed to explain who I am? You already did
yes.
that. Yeah, no, so
you can explain more. Say if you have other things you want to plug.
I mean, the YouTube channel is the main thing, Kyle the Scot. I do video essays and game critiques. I do also do a podcast with my friend Nathan. We're currently watching through all of the James Bond movies. It's called Enter the Bondverse. So that's where you can find me on other platforms, but mainly the YouTube thing.
Groovy.
That sounds very fun.
It is fun.
I've seen a spattering of James Bond movies, but not in any sensible order.
If you've seen some of them, you've mostly seen all of them. They're quite the same.
Yeah. I grew up on the Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan is the only real Bond, and I will fight people.
He is pretty good. I also grew up in Pierce Brosnan, so
roughly
hard to beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we said, we're doing Borderlands, which is the adaptation of Borderlands, the video game series, largely the first two.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, for both.
I feel like I have to explain a little bit more because this movie gives you nothing. I'm going to spoil it right now. This movie gives you almost nothing. So if we were to talk exclusively about the movie, we would do the synopsis and then basically have nothing to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, part of what's interesting with this movie to me is how much it fails to be a Borderlands movie.
Yeah. In such a strange way.
Yeah, because Borderlands, like, love it or hate it, I think it's a very distinctive sci-fi universe. It's a very well-established brand at this point in the games. Mm-hmm. And this movie takes almost none of it for some reason. Yeah,
we'll get into more. But yeah, my partner, who also plays the Borderlands games with me when we do that, watched this with me, and they said that it feels like an uncanny valley of Borderlands.
Yes. No, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense.
What if we made a Borderlands movie, but we put it through ChatGPT first?
I feel like it would be better than that. I feel like that would be better.
It didn't go through ChatGPT. I believe it went through like 6 or 7 writers because this movie was in development since 2016. I think this was first announced.
Oof. Yes.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get into some of that in a second because I have my whole cast list. But
Yes.
I want to say to start, because it's not the normal format we do, we're going to do our normal movie synopsis. I'm going to try to get through it quickly because there's not a lot there. And we're probably going to wind up talking about video games a lot more than we do normally. Even though in a normal, episode, it's very hard to keep either of us on topic. So we have talked about video games. We haven't talked about related video games.
It's fine. I'm a game guy. That's what I do. So I'm all here for that.
So Borderlands, released in 2024, was directed and mostly / co-written, according to the credits, by Eli Roth, who's known as a horror director, mostly sort of gore movies, which it could have worked, sort of, if they didn't make the weirdly baffling decision to make this a PG-13 movie.
That was going to be brought up immediately. Why is this movie a PG-13? It's insane.
Yeah, you could have zero nudity in this and make it an R fantastically. You just need to have the blood be there as opposed to just everyone dying when they got shot at.
The games are pretty graphic. That's a part of the brand of the games.
Yeah,
it is, and also bafflingly, which we'll get into a little bit when we're talking about it as an adaptation. But there's several ways that they could have done both things that are already baked into the game. It wouldn't have been as good, but there are workarounds that you could have used to still make it a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
So Roth is known for several horror movies. He did the Cabin Fever series. He did the Hostel movies. He did House with a Clock in Its Walls, which I'm mentioning because that's how he got Cate Blanchett and Jack Black to work on this.
I enjoyed that film. That was 2018, yes?
I believe. I haven't actually seen that.
I've not seen any horror movies, so I'm out of my element here.
And now the movie was also written, according to the credits, by someone called Joe Crombie, who may or may not be a guy named Joe Abercrombie, who has 3 editor credits on various documentaries and TV specials and an upcoming writer credit on Love, Death, and Robots. But he might also be the pseudonym for Craig Mazin, who worked on this movie until completely dropping off the face of the earth for a minute and then coming back and claiming that he's had nothing to do with this movie, never heard of this movie, has never written on this movie, is not in this movie, and is not credited on this movie.
What was it? Walter Smithy, whatever the name that people do?
Something like that, yeah. when they don't want to put their name on a movie, they come up with this fake guy. Yeah.
So it's a mystery. We don't know who worked on this movie. There were also, probably between 7 and 16 writers that I've heard of through the little bit of research.
Just keep passing it around.
You can't tell in the movie. It's so smooth.
Yeah, I think most of that is they also did 2 months of reshooting and who knows how much editing on this thing.
Because there was also, COVID kind of complicated some filming.
Yeah, it was the COVID film.
Yeah, I think there's a quote from Cate Blanchett where she blames this movie on COVID madness.
Yes, she said it's at least a little bit of COVID madness because I was spending too much time in the garden with a chainsaw and my husband said, go do a movie.
Okay. And that's Borderlands.
So that brings us to the cast, which I'm going to try to run through very quickly because you know who these people are.
Yes. This movie has a surprisingly stacked cast.
It does. So you had Cate Blanchett playing Lilith, who's a phenomenal actor you've definitely heard of. She has a massive, massive career. She came to a lot of prominence playing Elizabeth. She was also in more recent things you might have seen, like Lord of the Rings and Thor Ragnarok. She's mostly here because she's Cate Blanchett and because that is a big name to have on the posters and also draws in other actors that you have heard of.
Indeed.
Yep.
Such as?
Then we have Kevin Hart playing Roland, which is a strange casting choice, but fine. He's a stand-up comedian who was then cast on the show what is this called? Undervalued, Underdeveloped? My spell checker messed up something. So he was cast on the show Undeclared in 2021 and has since been in a lot of movies like Scary Movie 3, the new Jumanji films. Interestingly, he is not here to be funny.
I was going to say, you mentioned he's a comedian. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, most of his credits are like stand-up stuff like Kevin Hart, live comedy from the Laugh House and things like that. And also things like Die Hard.
Yes.
Die Hard 2.
He's a full-on comedian. I don't love him as a comedian. He's not my style of comedy, but like he's a well-known comedian. And Roland is the straightest straight man to ever be in a video game.
Yep.
So it's a little,
Yeah, to the point of it like being a joke in the games that he's such a straight man.
Yes. We also have Jamie Lee Curtis as Tanis. She's one of the older Nepo babies, so she's like a Nepo grandma. She's the daughter of the actress Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis. She's also known as the Scream Queen for being in a lot of 80s horror movies, like Halloween, The Fog, Prom Night. Yeah.
And so on and so forth, yeah.
I have to also bring up, because you guys are mostly a Star Trek podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis is, of course, in Star Trek, an amazing role that no one could ever forget, where she plays Control in the Section 31 movie.
Yep. For like 2 seconds.
Yep.
Your video on that is the most I ever saw about the Section 31 movie,
That's
honestly.
wise. That's wise. I could have picked Section 31, but Section 31 is actually this, but worse. So
I appreciate this, because this will give us some more interesting stuff to talk about than just staring at the screen going, why? Why?
Agreed.
Then we have Jack Black playing Claptrap, and I'm not going to tell you who Jack Black is because this podcast is on the internet, so you're on the internet, so you know Jack Black.
Because everyone remembers him from that time he was in one of the Never-Ending Story sequels.
yes.
Yes, so that's the only place everyone knows him from, but everyone knows him from that.
I think he's been in a movie that came out recently, but I don't know. I've heard people talk about that.
Something about blocks or spheres
something about
or
blocks
something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Geometry, the movie.
Yeah.
Then we have Anna Greenblatt.
I think it's Ariana.
Oh, what did I say?
He said
Yeah, it
Anya.
is Aria. I did. Why did I say that? Ariana Greenblatt playing Tiny Tina. She was a Disney Channel actor on a series called Stuck in the Middle, and she's more recently become very well known for her role in the Barbie movie.
Was also in a lot of Boss Baby stuff, just generally.
No.
She's also, I believe, young Gamora in Avengers, and also young Ahsoka in the Ahsoka show. So,
Oh, really?
yes.
I didn't catch that. So she has a long sci-fi backstory.
She does, yes.
And then we also have someone who I'm not going to pronounce the name of very well, Florin Montanu, possibly,
Think so, yeah.
as Krieg, who is the big burly guy. He's a German boxer who then was in movies where he played a boxer.
Like
Makes sense.
Creed 2. Creed 3.
Yeah, he was in Creed 2 and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, where he plays a big guy who doesn't talk.
Oh, that's right. Is he the big guy with the sword arm?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it for our purposes, because while there are other characters in the movie doesn't care, so neither should you.
But who plays Marcus and Nox and Moxie and Ellie and Larry and Random Child and Lil Smoke?
Yeah. Mox they made up. Ellie's in the movie for all of 2 seconds.
Yes.
The big one is Mr. Atlas, the most charismatic villain ever.
Yeah, he's just so... Oh my god. I will be completely honest. I meant to include him, and then I forgot.
Whoops.
That's fair. No, that's totally fair. He was played by an actor, probably.
Yeah, probably. Maybe somebody named Edgar Ramirez,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
who's been in things.
Like Joy and Zero Dark 30.
And something called Florida Man, which I've not heard of.
He was in
TV miniseries. Okay.
in The Bourne Ultimatum.
Oh, and was in the Jungle Cruise. He's just got win after win.
He was in something called El Nudo. Oh my.
That sounds like it might be more interesting.
Well, he's here. He's being the suit.
Yes, he's the suit. We'll get into the synopsis in a second, but I just think I should say that, like, with him being the villain, since that's what we were on, this is such a non-movie, but the villains are supposed to be the evil corporate power, because that's sort of the entire vibe of the Borderlands series. Is a very anti-corporate, anti-establishment type of movie.
Yeah.
Or video
Yes.
game series, I mean.
Very much so, yes.
And the movie somehow completely fails to do that, despite having the corporation supposed to be the big villain.
Yeah, because he never really feels like a corporate dude. He feels like a local governor or something.
Yeah, he's just there. And we
Yeah.
will talk later about how they... this is one of the places where they completely messed up, because this is a unique villain. They made up both of the villains for this. And
Yes.
there's a third villain who's like a weird amalgam between a forgettable villain from the first game and a forgettable villain from the third game.
Yeah.
But like, we may as well jump in. So,
Yeah. Let's do this.
so we begin with a backstory from Lilith, a voiceover, which I will say, I saw a comment on something that I agreed with so much I had to remember to write this down. This movie failed the second it started with voiceover backstory from Lilith and not Marcus coming
I
in with,
know.
so you want to hear a story.
Oh my god, you're so right, because that's iconic to the games. And also, I think you didn't name him, but Benjamin Byron Davis as Marcus is maybe the best cast in this entire movie. He just nails it.
Yeah, he's really good. He gets the voice down. He gets the character down pretty well. They don't use him for anything.
Yeah. No. But yeah, if it started with him telling us a story, that would have been so much better.
'Cause that's how
Agreed.
every DLC starts in the entire game.
Yeah.
Except I think for Mad Moxie's Underdome, where she does the narrating. Yeah.
Oh, it's appropriate.
So Lilith
yeah.
tells us that there was an ancient race called the Iridians who disappeared eons ago, but they left fragments of technology all over that all human stuff is based on. It's basically Mass Effect. Yeah. Humans found alien shit.
My note was this voiceover is so redundant because the Iridians are like the most basic sci-fi concept ever. Oh, there's a race of ancient aliens that have disappeared. Cool, got it. You basically don't have to explain that at all. Yeah.
They also left a vault of unspecified stuff on the planet Pandora. The planet's overrun by corporations who are stripping it for resources, and there's criminals and treasure seekers, etc. This intro is really bad and doesn't go anywhere, but okay.
Yes.
There's also a prophecy, a new thing. That's a prophecy for the daughter of Iridia, who's the only one who can open the vault.
I wonder who it
Yeah,
could be.
I don't know. We've had one character introduced so far.
It's me.
But then we get another character, who I guess is the other person it could be. Yeah, it's Roland.
That's true.
Obviously, Roland.
The daughter
right?
of Uridia, our
Yes.
trans representation.
Yeah.
So we go to a space station, which is some sort of space jail thing, I guess. Roland walks in and does the "Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?" because he's here to rescue Tina. Because he works for her dad, who sent him here to save her, and she just immediately goes with him. On the way out, a large man just sort of breaks through a wall, and they're just like, "You're with us now, cool."
Okay, yeah. I was wondering about this, because it kind of seems like Krieg and Tina know each other.
Yeah, but
like,
why? How?
Yeah.
What's...
Oh yeah, Tina, you're cool. Let's hang out. Oh, okay.
Well,
Which, yeah.
Okay.
They
Very
can't...
large man.
Krieg was a very weird choice for this,
an
I feel.
extremely weird choice. I mean, okay, to drop the bomb right away, this movie wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy so bad.
Yes, it does.
And I guess Krieg is supposed to be our Groot, who he doesn't speak English or anything. He just sort of rambles nonsense and is big and does
Yeah,
stuff.
except he's not cute, because Groot's like invincible and confused, and Krieg is just psychotic.
Just a weirdo. He's not that psychotic, to be honest.
Yeah, not really.
He says some weird stuff, but that's about it.
I feel like I should say that just because of the parlance of the games, we're going to be using a lot of ableist language because that's what the
Yeah.
game calls things.
Yeah.
It's a little unfortunate,
This
but
has
the
been a
game
problem
came
with
out
the games
a
for-
long time ago.
It's something that the newer games are trying to sort of toy with a bit more, but because they're stuck with cycle of being like the iconic, like literally front of the box thing, they can't really
Yeah.
get away from it.
They kind of transition into calling them bandits more often. but
Yes.
They still have a bit of a problem. Also, a lot of the enemies are just little people for some reason.
They're not in the movie, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, not in the
Big
movie, which is a weird win for the movie.
Let's not go this route. Okay, that will easy.
So we then get to Lilith, who's on a random planet doing random stuff that's completely disconnected from anything else. She's
Yeah.
apparently a bounty hunter. She has captured a guy, and then she just brings the guy into a bar
As you do.
Yeah.
because she just doesn't want to drop off the bounty, I suppose.
I have to point out, because this is where you first know the aesthetic of this movie. It's just a bar. It's not like a fancy sci-fi bar or anything. It's just a completely regular, you could walk to this bar right now kind of bar.
There's a lot too much dialogue here, but the upshot is that a bigwig guy is here to hire her. She keeps saying she doesn't want to do it and keeps shooting everybody who asks her to do it. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it turns out that the bigwig guy was actually just a hologram and he asked some other dude to wear it. So it's kind of a neat effect, but it's a little pointless.
I kind of like this effect, if nothing else.
They try to make it a joke and then it's just not a joke, which happens a lot in this movie.
That's a lot of this movie, yes.
I suppose it might have worked better if there was like 3 or 4 other people that would be putting on the face hologram.
And each one gets dropped in sequence.
Just keep shooting them.
This is going to introduce Lilith's main character trait throughout the entire movie, which is she does not want to be here. She does not want to do anything, but not for any particular reason, just because she doesn't want to.
So it's really endearing.
Yeah, it's the best somehow. Yep. It's like it really makes you love the character and feel for her motivations of just wanting to not be here, because I don't want to be here.
That's fair.
So this is Atlas, who's the head of the Atlas Corporation. And he's here to hire Lilith to rescue his daughter, who's Tina, the one who got kidnapped earlier by Roland, who also said he was working for her father.
Baffling.
Yeah. It never actually occurred to me to question this until right now, but what was Tina even doing in that prison?
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah. Because I guess my brain auto-filled in that when she reveals later her backstory that was some sort of Atlas, like, testing facility, but I don't think it was. I think it was just a prison.
Because it's full of other people. Like, that's where Krieg is. Why is he there?
But, like, the people that Roland is killing, they're like other Crimson Lance dudes, right?
So he kills a bunch of Crimson Lance dudes who are on this place, and then Krieg's also in one of the prison cells. It's very confusing. The only thing that I heard, I saw a thing about the original script, which leaked a while back, that it was supposed to start with Lilith being in prison, and then Atlas offering her this job to save his daughter as a way to get out of prison. And it feels to me like they just had the prison and wanted to use it for something.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
We've already made the giant space station in orbit. Wait a moment, it's a special effect. Never mind.
They had to build those really impressive sets of great hallways.
I know, so many amazing hallways in this.
Yep.
Lilith doesn't want to go because she hates Pandora and will never set foot on that again until she gets money to go to Pandora.
Yes. He offers her a very large amount of money. And again, it's supposed to be a joke, but it just doesn't land.
There's a weird thing where, like, she's supposed to be doing it for money, but a second ago she just, like, massively overpaid for a drink without blinking. So she's not hard up for cash.
It was just that much money.
So she lands on Pandora, and we get this weird montage bit, because they did so many reshoots on this movie that they just use filler footage with voiceover from 90% of it.
Yes. Well, okay. So Lilith does voiceover for about the first 20 minutes, and then she just stops doing voiceover.
Yes, completely. It's the first half of the movie is voiceover backstory, then voiceover about searching for the kid on Pandora, then more voiceover about searching for the kid on Pandora, and then no voiceover montage for the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah, also have to point out with this voiceover, it's completely redundant. She's just, like, voicing the things which we're seeing on screen. She's like, oh, I went over here, I shot some bandits, and we see her shoot some bandits, and it's like, you don't need to tell us that. We have eyes.
What this reminds me of so much is when I was a kid, I got my first video camera. And since I was an only child and wanted to shoot movies, most of what I did was make little story movies where I just set up Legos and different things and then narrated what was happening as I panned over the Legos. I feel like that's this.
No, that's good, yeah. At least the Lego probably had more character to it.
Probably. This is also like where you get... It's baffling to me because this is the thing that's in the trailers. It's probably the only, like, good shot, like, legitimately good shot in the entire film is Lilith, like, running away from a bandit and doing a little flip over a box and firing her infinity pistol thing in slow motion where the gun's, like, flipping around and doing all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the one good shot in the entire movie, and it's a 2-second clip in a voiceover.
Yeah, you see that in the trailer, and you're like, oh, that's going to be a cool action scene at least. But no, it's just a shot.
Oh, I do appreciate having the infinity pistol.
Well, that's
in this,
so many things are that. There's the infinity pistol, which is from the games. And she says she has to go to Firestone, which is from the games. It doesn't look like Firestone, but whatever. And we're never there, actually. She just says we go there.
Oh, yeah, they name drop a bunch of stuff.
And there's the bus from the beginning.
The bus, yes.
Where Marcus is, and Marcus is fun. But then she says like 15 times she's not a Vault Hunter. He keeps saying this is a bus for Vault Hunters. Here's what Vault Hunters do. And she's like, not a Vault Hunter.
I do not understand this at all as a story element of why is Lilith not just a Vault Hunter? Why do you think it's more dramatic if she doesn't want to be there?
The one thing that was getting me, someone in a review mentioned that none of the characters in this movie have any motivation, which I agree with. Like, you don't understand why anyone is doing anything in this film. Mm-hmm. But the game has a built-in motivation, which is you are a Vault Hunter, you are trying to find the vault, and you are shooting anyone between you and there.
It's so frustrating because it's such a basic premise of, like, at a most fundamental level, what does the vault represent in the games? It's greed, right? Everyone is greedy for this vault. They want to get it. That's like the basis of the entire franchise, basically. And in this movie, they just want it because they don't want Atlas to have it, I guess.
Or something. And then she's just denying it over and over, which, like, this is your only stated motivation in the entire movie, and she spends a full 2 minutes saying that she doesn't have any motivation.
No, her greed is for the money she's going to get paid for finding and retrieving Tina, as opposed to any sort of wealth, power, or whatever that she would get instead by going for the vault. So it's not money, it's money that she's looking for.
Right. Exactly. Except for the part where she stops looking for money because she doesn't agree with child murder, I think.
I think that's what's happening. At some point in here, during her like montage that goes into another montage that goes into another montage about her searching, we meet Claptrap, who's a robot who's been programmed to help her by a person we don't know yet, and he's really angry about it.
Yes. I think Claptrap, I feel like I'm going to say this a lot, I think Claptrap might be the biggest misstep in this movie, because he's so mean-spirited in this movie.
Yeah, it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of the character, aside from just, like, he's the slightly annoying, wacky sidekick.
Yes. But, like, what makes Claptrap work in the games is that he's incredibly earnest, I would say. Like... Yeah. He's always happy to be there, he's always trying his best, and he's annoying, but he's always trying. Whereas in this, he's also, like,
incredibly narcissistic.
Yes.
And he's also, like, arguably the main character.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, I'm here.
Because, like, he has a running joke, especially through the second game, of ordering you around, which is, like, okay, this little robot's ordering me to do stuff, but also it's a video game, so I'm still doing the stuff.
I still have to get from point A to point B in order to get to progress the game, and to do that, I guess I need to follow him around.
Like,
okay,
the whole time you're like, well, he's not really in charge because he's just an annoying side character, but I mean, he kind of is in charge because you have to do everything he tells you.
This is another angle this movie could have gone, which is that the Borderlands games are very parodying about the tropes of video games. So if you're going to translate that to a movie, you would imagine that the movie would be like a parody of this kind of movie, but it's not. So
yeah, which I think if you were going to have one movie where you could just put in and make fun of a bunch of video game tropes, it would be this movie. And they don't do any of it. No one blows up a barrel. No one says anything funny. Ever, but I was going to say about video games, but just ever.
No one is stopped walking behind an NPC who's walking too slow or something.
Yeah, anything.
Another take could be, a way to go about it is to make fun of tropes of movies. And so Lilith's refusal of the call could be completely inverted, and once he's on Pandora, it's like, maybe I will look for the vault, actually.
Sure, yeah, something.
That would require some level of self-awareness. So we get another name drop because she's found the Tundra Express where Tiny Tina is in the games, and it doesn't look like Tundra or an express. It's a generic desert.
Every single part of Pandora in this movie is just desert.
Because they filmed the entire thing in one quarry.
Yep.
Oh, also by Vasquez Rocks.
Yes, they do go to Vasquez Rocks. Yeah, they go to fight the Gorn.
Because there's one thing that sort of looks like that in one part of the second game.
Yeah. No, this is also a problem in Borderlands 3 for me as well, which is, I think there's a name for this trope, but it's where, like, one planet is, like, defined by an entire biome. It's just this one planet. So, like, Pandora just becomes the desert planet, and then you have another planet that's, like, the jungle planet. And it always annoys me.
Which I was disappointed.
Yes.
Because that was one of the things I liked with Borderlands, staying on one planet. Is like, yeah, of course you can get a wide variety of biomes and places and things, because it's an entire planet.
There's the snowy north, there is a desert, there's like a grassy highlands area, there's all sorts of stuff.
There's the weird jungle that we don't talk about because it's that Hammerlock DLC.
It's not, I don't mind the Hammerlock DLC. It's okay.
I don't mind it as much as most people, but it's funny to make fun of.
Yeah.
I like the boss fight who dies falling down the stairs. I think that's funny.
Yeah, that's true. So we do find Tina. She's living in a car, and she's a nice, sweet girl until she tries to blow up Lilith with a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if
enough.
you were in this movie, you'd probably try to blow up all the other main characters with teddy bears as well, actually.
Yeah. This starts a fight where Krieg shows up, then an army shows up, and then we get Nox, who's not a character in the games and is not a character in this movie. So we can pretty safely ignore her.
It's confusing because her name is Nox. And General Nox is from the DLC for the first game. I can't remember what the DLC is called, but he's a very good character, General Nox. He's this old general who ironically, he doesn't want to be there, but they do actually make it funny. Like, you walk in on his boss fight and he's about to kill himself in the most elaborate way possible because he's just sick and tired of all of this shit. So, like, General Nox is a genuinely fun and charismatic villain in that game. And then, I guess, this character is supposed to be his daughter or something?
Yeah, which they never mention, but, like, if you look her up, it says she's his daughter.
Yeah. So, there you go. It was a tease for a sequel.
I guess. You know, alternatively, we're stuck with the problem of, you had to read the external reading material, the comics, and this other thing in order to have this all make any sense.
It still doesn't.
No, that's not how movies work. Sorry. Yeah.
So she's in charge of the Atlas troops, who are the Crimson Lance, which is another name drop. They do the costumes well. The Crimson Lance look like the Crimson Lance.
This movie's weird where they commit fully to the aesthetic sometimes, but because they only do it sometimes, it ends up looking weird.
It's just so random and uncanny.
Like the guns, to me. The guns in this movie all look like big toy guns because, like, the games have a very cartoony art style, so that doesn't matter. But when you translate that directly into live action, it just looks like you're holding a big toy.
Yeah, because the characters in the games also look like cartoons.
Yes.
So if they're holding a cartoon gun, it makes sense.
Yes.
They also, for some reason, do a "you and what army" joke in this, which fails so hard.
All of the timing on the jokes in this movie is just slightly off to where it just doesn't work. Because she says, like, "Oh, you in what army?" And she says, "This army." And then it takes a beat for the army to actually show up.
Yes. Also, Family Guy Season 1 is the only time that joke has ever worked, and everyone needs to stop trying.
Yes.
Tina tries to blow Nox up, which doesn't work because she made a BB bomb, which is a little too obvious. So instead it just destabilizes the big pile of cars they're standing on.
Yeah, speaking of jokes, they do the "oh shit" and then cut off by an explosion joke like twice in like 4 minutes.
Like, why bother at that point?
Just to remind us that this is a PG-13.
Someone also mentioned in this that this movie uses grenade wipes very often because they don't know how to end a scene, so they just blow up something and then cut to the next scene.
Yep. It's like the parrot in Citizen Kane, just keeps the audience awake. You know, you just blow something up every so often.
It didn't work. I had to watch this in chunks to avoid falling asleep.
That's wise.
So Roland then appears in a minivan, and they all drive away, even though Lilith was trying to fight Tina like 2 seconds ago.
They're the main characters of the movie, so of course they have to work together.
There's a very meaningless chase scene. They blow up a big snake thing that I think they call a thresher, but it doesn't look anything like a thresher, so I don't know what it is.
No, yeah.
It's Terramorphous' younger brother.
Terramorphous doesn't have a mouth. None of them have mouths. Threshers don't have mouths.
No. This movie is so lacking on like the part. Another thing that makes Pandora interesting in the games is all this bizarre alien like ecosystem that it builds up over the course of the games.
Yeah. I think that was the only part of the movie that I thought was any good at all. Was they're driving through a canyon and they have a wide shot and one of the big flying rack things comes through and just like skewers a skag and flies away. And it's like, oh, look, it's the ecosystem happening.
Yeah. This is a horrible planet to live on with all these terrible animals yeah.
So, have more of that.
I do want to point out as well, though, this is an incredible van they've got. Like, this thing is super bulletproof. It has, like, rocket launchers and jet boosters. Where did you get this thing?
I know, because it's not in the games.
No.
I guess the being bulletproof is represented by just having lots of hit points in the game, I suppose.
The cars in the game are made of tissue paper.
Yeah, they are. They're terrible, yeah.
Yeah.
So they managed to get away from the big army by jumping through whatever snake thing with missiles. The upshot of all of this is Tina thinks she's the daughter of Iridia. They're going to open the vault, and now they're on the same side, I suppose. They have a really cringy line about, like, so what makes you think you can open the vault? And he's like, I've got conscience.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the bad guys to have it.
Yeah, it's great, somehow. So they wind up in Sanctuary, which is like the coolest looking sci-fi place in the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Sanctuary, but it does look like a sci-fi city.
No.
Sure.
I mean, Sanctuary in the games is really cool because it's also world building because it's built on this old mining rig and then it takes off later in the game. It's a whole big scene, but it could also just be a city, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it could just be sat there during the wrong time in the movie and
in the wrong place compared to other things.
They
later.
go to see Moxie, who's here to mostly to show up for a minute.
Yep.
And point them to Tanis.
Yeah, it's a thing you know from the games.
Yeah, she has a southern accent, which I'm going to need to talk about in a little while.
Oh, please.
So remember,
please
she has a southern accent.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
So Tanis, they send her to see Tanis, who has history with Lilith, because Tanis was supposed to look after Lilith when her mother died. But instead gave her to some pirates.
This is why we need to talk about like the ages of
Lilith
in this movie, because I did look this up. I noted it down. Currently, Cate Blanchett is 55 and Jamie Lee Curtis is 66. Mm-hmm. So
yes. So she was 10-ish.
Yeah. So, like, I guess if Jamie Lee Curtis was significantly younger than Lilith's mum, then I guess that kind of works. But
kind of, yeah. It's like
in the flashback we see, it doesn't look like that at all.
No, it doesn't. It looks like Lilith has lived an extremely hard life for the past 20 years.
And I struggle with this because I don't think it's an inherently bad thing to cast an older actor in these kinds of roles. It's not. You don't have to stick with the original source material.
No,
I don't think
that's not.
It really hurts it.
The bigger issue is the movie feels like it was written for a younger character.
Yeah, because Lilith is supposed to be something in her 20s.
Yes.
Like early to mid 20s. And she's written like someone in her early to mid 20s. Mm-hmm. So seeing a 50-something-year-old act like a 20-year-old is weird.
Yes. Not only act, but outside of the opening where she's like, oh, I'm getting too old for this shit. Everyone in the movie treats her like she's younger than she is.
Yeah, everybody talks to her like she's a kid. She pouts when she goes to see Tanis. She just hangs out in the back room and pouts.
Yes.
I'm going over here. Everyone else,
all of this would
bye.
Be fine if she was 22, right?
And then there's just such. I did look up the ages of everyone, and it broadly in the backstory it doesn't look like it, but Tanis is just old enough that maybe she was trusted with a kid but shouldn't have been. Mm-hmm. And Roland is they have a bit of an age gap, but it still works as a romance. So it would be a really interesting romance if they ever went that far.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm. I think, though, we could explain the apparent age for Lilith, at least, via the Hans Moleman conjecture.
What's...
Oh, physics.
No, from Simpsons. I remember Hans Moleman has declared that alcohol ruined his life because he's only 32.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, she's just a drunk, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so the bar in the beginning is the...
Exactly. She gets the expensive alcohol all the time, and that's she's unfortunately an alcoholic. It explains
I
everything.
suppose it does, yeah.
Okay, I thought you were going to do something with Tanis spent some time at near relativistic light speeds, and that's why they have such a strange
Well, I
age
could do
gap.
that too, but
Well, see, okay, I almost like the way that Jamie Lee Curtis plays Tanis in this first scene when you meet her, where, like, she has, like, a line where it's like, I'm sensing from your body language that you're upset, or something like that. And I kind of like that as a characterization of, like, she doesn't understand emotions and stuff like that, because, I don't know, it adds to the character a little bit. But then they just kind of stop doing that with Tanis, and she just sort of becomes Team Grandma.
Yeah, and she's also just...
a little bit.
Like, yeah, Tanis is... A lot of people call her autistic. I feel like that's a weird way to just, like... It kind of fits the character, but then the way the character backstory is makes it a little strange for the games.
Yes.
But, she definitely is not sociable at all, but she's also very mean-spirited about not being sociable.
Yes. I'll be honest, in the games, I've never liked Tanis particularly much. She's never been a character that really worked for me. But
Aggressively agrophobic.
Yeah.
her deal is, I suppose it's sort of like an Asperger's thing, maybe, where she just sort of says stuff.
Yeah, that's supposedly the explanation that they've given, like, after the fact, after they're like, oh, we wrote an autistic character, let's explain that.
Yeah.
But she's very antagonistic, which she's not in here. Like, they give her a little bit of the social awkwardness, but she seems more like she's socially awkward. Instead of, like, in the games, if you tromped into her office, she'd go, why are you here and get out of my face as soon as possible, you slack-jawed mouth breathers.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
She's like the smartest person in the room, and she knows it, and she wants you to know it. It's generally her vibe.
Yeah, and she also hates being
she
around
wants to be the
people
only
to an
person.
absurd degree.
I have realized I am comparing myself to you, and I need to stop that, so leave.
Yeah. All right, we got more backstory to get through, and then we're almost done with this whole thing. So we get some more backstory that Tina is apparently a clone that Atlas made from some Iridian DNA, which is why she thinks she's special and can open the vault.
Yeah, it does not matter at all that she's a clone.
Yeah, and it also completely ruins anything with the original character, even remotely.
Yeah. No.
So...
So what about Flesh Stick?
Yeah, what of Flesh Stick?
It's a flesh stick.
And then also Claptrap accidentally reveals them to Nox, who's looking around, so they have to sneak out of Sanctuary because the reveal doesn't matter because they just sneak out of Sanctuary without any incident.
Yeah, every single person in Sanctuary is on their side for some reason. The movie implies later that, like, Atlas is occupying the planet, and because they have, like, a big celebration when everyone is killed at the end, like the end of Star Wars, as if they've just defeated the Empire, but we never get that impression. Yeah. Atlas seems to just be here for the vault and nothing else.
Yeah, they're just there. Yeah, they aren't doing a lot.
Maybe there's an unrelated celebration that they were just going to be doing.
So we've also learned about the vault key, which is you need 3 parts of a key to open the vault. Tanis already has one. They know where the other one is. And then later we find out they also already had the other piece. So there's absolutely no reason at all for it to be a multiple piece key.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we could have just made it one key and we have to go pick it up from this
Especially
location.
Since in the games it's 3 pieces, but also they mess that up somehow.
Yeah, because it's like a little nesting doll thing in this movie as opposed to being 3 actual different pieces.
Also, I'll just spoil it now because it doesn't matter. One of the pieces is the daughter of Iridia.
Yes.
So it's not actually a piece of the key. It's just a person.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been funny if they got to the end here and, wait, actually we did need a third piece. Oh, never mind, we're not opening it today.
So they go to the location of the vault key, which is the Caustic Caverns, which is probably one of the most visually impactful and interesting places in Borderlands 2.
One of my favorite places in Borderlands 2. It's these massive caverns, the green acid everywhere, and this degraded mining equipment all over the place. It's so visually cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and in here it is a
full of
small
critters.
cavern. I dispute to be a cult.
No, not even a little.
Yeah.
It's more like a sewer.
Yeah, it is just a sewer. It's literally a sewer.
Caustic sewers.
It also is full of raiders, which I guess I see why they did that, but Caustic Caverns, while being one of the coolest places in Borderlands 2, is just a circle. You go around in a circle, and it is full of every single one of the most annoying enemies in the entire game.
All those, like, big crystal things that you can only shoot their legs. Those guys.
Yeah. There's the big crystal dudes, which don't show up at all. There's the Valkids, which also don't show up at all. So you're always being pestered by little flying bug things. You're being shot at by big crystal things. There's the threshers that pop out of the ground and can do all kinds of nasty things to you.
There's the spider dudes.
There's the spider dudes.
Which have...
Yep, then the spider dudes and back.
And if you go through one section, you'll find yourself confronted with these green cactus-like critters. I think they're called creepers.
Yeah.
Again, I think there was a movie that came out sort of related to that or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
We should remember what that was about.
Honestly, it kind of offends me that they called this the Caustic Caverns, because it's not a cavern.
This speaks to this weird thing that the movie is doing, where it's trying to fan service name drop things, and it just fails so hard at every single opportunity.
Yeah, because the name of the Caustic Caverns is not like what makes it cool.
So they have to sneak by some raiders. They need to distract them. Claptrap gets shot 200 times.
Specifically, they're Bloodshots, which is another faction of raiders from the games you see.
Yeah, but they look exactly the same, and they're completely indistinguishable, and they make
But they're even worse than the Cycles on the surface, you see.
Because these guys will just kill you as opposed to kidnap.
Yeah, they have a little argument about it that doesn't go anywhere. I remember this. Then they find the key, because Lilith just finds the key, because we'll figure out she's special later. Yeah. Claptrap craps out a lot of bullets.
Okay. How does this even make any sense at all? So we see him get shot like 6 billion times, and then like he does like this little, there's like a 2-second animation where he like shakes off the armor plating to reveal new shiny armor plating underneath. So does he like absorb bullets?
Seems maybe.
How?
Okay, this whole scene, I read about this. The director, Eli Roth, who makes movies for some reason, was out walking his like French bulldog, saw how shy his French bulldog was pooping, and then pulled out his phone and filmed it and went, "That's Claptrap right there."
So really, we should find Eli and tell him he's a bad person.
I agree. He shouldn't film his dog pooping. That's rude.
Yes. Yeah, don't do that. It's
also,
weird.
It's not Claptrap.
It's also a weird thing to admit in an interview.
It's a very weird thing to say, yes.
And also, this is an integral part of the story, because Claptrap pooping out bullets alerts the raiders and leads to the biggest fight in the film.
But at least the big fight has a cool tune going to it. Anyone familiar with Motorhead?
Why did they put Ace of Spades in here, though? Because like it doesn't fit.
No, I have the same
Borderlands.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy had the collection sequences where they played like classic rock music over it. What if we did that?
But like Borderlands has its iconic music stuff. Each of the games start with a montage over the iconic music. It's a different genre. It's a completely different genre of music.
I did know earlier. I think when we're first introduced to Lilith, they play "What's It Makes a Good Man" by The Heavy, which is the song that ends Borderlands 2. It plays over the credits. And in Borderlands 2, that's an extremely thematically relevant song to put there, because like what makes a good man is like kind of the thesis of Handsome Jack's entire character.
Yeah.
So like that's impactful, and then they put it in this movie because I recognize it, I guess. Because The Heavy, they do music for Borderlands.
This is a complete aside, but I want to know what in the world is going on with Ace of Spades, because I saw it in here. It's in here, and then I was like, wait a minute. I just saw that in Severance. Is this the only song people have rights to anymore?
Almost.
I can only imagine it's used better in Severance.
A little.
Now, if they did want to use Ace of Spades, they should have had a action shootout thing in Moxie's bar instead. And
that would have made sense.
Yeah, where cards or something.
There's the slot machines and all that sort of stuff. There's obviously gambling going on. This is a great place to do that.
Or a random sword full of crates. That's really cool too.
Yep.
You mentioned this is the biggest action scene in the movie, and it is, and this is a great time to point out that the action in this movie is pretty boring. Because...
Yeah, it's terrible.
Because, like, first of all, whenever you see Lilith doing anything, she just sort of points her guns and shoots at things, and that's about it. And, like, the whole idea of Borderlands, the games, is you've got two defining characteristics of the combat, I would say, in those games. One is all the crazy guns. You got, like, 16 billion different variations of guns.
Which no one changes their gun in the entire movie. No one gets a new gun. No one talks about guns. No one picks up a more powerful gun. Like,
you've got guns that blow people up. You've got guns that you throw and they run around as little smaller guns that shoot things. There's all this crazy stuff.
Guns that electrocute people, guns that melt people, guns that set people on fire.
So all of that. The second is that all of the characters have, like, these really cool skill trees of abilities and stuff that they can all do, and they're all, like, specialties of different aspects. Like, why doesn't Roland have a turret? That's his whole thing, is he has a turret.
Yeah. I know. I have no idea why. I get that they, for some reason, wanted to save the Lilith power reveal for the end, which I think was a stupid decision. But I guess it was a decision. But why didn't Roland have a turret? And then I guess technically Krieg is using his action skill all the time, because his action skill is using his big axe.
I guess. Which he can use to deflect bullets like a Jedi.
Yeah.
So Krieg's a Jedi?
Because anytime, that's always what happens. I'm playing Cyberpunk and they let you deflect bullets with a katana. So, if you have a sword, you have to deflect bullets because it answers the age-old question of how you do that fight.
Back in my day, when I played the Shadowrun with my friends, I just got shot a lot and lost my leather jacket each and every adventure. Anyway.
It's just weird that for a famous action games, they didn't adapt any of the things that are interesting about the action in the games.
I feel like this is the best place to put this, because I was gonna bring up that one of the other things that they leave out completely. There's two main things that I think they leave out completely that would have elevated the action scene so much. I had no hopes for this movie. I saw that this movie was coming out and it was like, oh no, that's going to be terrible. But they did have a possibility of having really cool, fun, creative action scenes, because all of the characters in Borderlands have personal shields, and they also all have these things they call digistructors, which instead of having a gun holster, they can make their gun disappear into energy and then reappear as a different gun. They all wear them at their hips or on their back or something instead of having to carry guns on them. And it was just envisioning you could do such a cool action scene by running through a crowd and having bullets just bounce off of your shield until you have to go behind a crate and pull out your other gun that appears out of thin air in your hand while you shoot 3 people and electrocute them and then pop over into cover while your shield recharges.
No, the action should be weird. Did you ever play, just another time, did you ever play Tales from the Borderlands?
I haven't. I have it, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
I've not played them either, so.
Okay, you should, because they're maybe the best, or the first one at least is maybe the best Telltale game. I've not played the second one. I've not heard great things. But
yeah, I hear that one's terrible.
But the first one, I think they do a really good job of adapting all that combat stuff into a non-action game, where it's still, you're doing it with quick time events as opposed to actually, doing it in combat. But they still keep it cinematic and still keep it weird, and you still have guns that burn people and electrocute them and all this. It's part of the identity of the franchise. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. That's the entire ad. Every ad for Borderlands, if you look at any of the games, look up any ad for any of the games, including Borderlands 4, which is coming out in 2 months.
17 bazillion guns, or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. All the guns. The guns are the key selling point.
You know that bit in the Matrix?
Look at all the guns.
Where it's we need guns, lots of guns. Yeah. It's basically that, but the guns are more colorful.
So just once, I wanted them to have a crappy pistol that they have to open 10,000 small boxes for to keep finding ammunition. And then they shoot one guy and he drops a gun that flashes orange or whatever in the light, and then they grab it and start setting people on fire.
Something fun, yeah.
Where's my Lyuda?
So anyway, they have this fight with 20 or so guys. They get cornered. I'm going to say the thing that, when I was watching this is the thing that upset me the most, even though every character is bad. Claptrap is upset that he has to open a door.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I didn't even clock that, but that's tremendous.
Because if there's one defining characteristic of Claptrap in the games, it's that he loves to open doors.
Yeah.
It's his entire
it's
personality.
What he was made to do is that's the whole joke of Claptrap robots in Borderlands, is that they're these tiny robots whose their only job is to open doors. But it's fine because they love it and they do little dances and they open doors and everyone hates them because it's like a commentary on like corporate overspending or like redundancy, where you can't just open the door.
Yeah, or even just corporate drone work of like, your entire purpose is to open a door and you better be happy about it.
You can't just open a door. You need this stupid little robot that's been built to stand there to open the door for you.
So the entire time they were doing this, they're like, we have to get this elevator working and open the door and we're fighting people. And I'm just in the back of my head, it's like the one thing they could do, just like as soon as they get there, I want Claptrap in the back to go, and open!
Yeah.
No.
What happened
And
here?
also Roland needs to sacrifice himself to escape, maybe, but he promises he'll be fine. And
then he is.
He is.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Plot armor.
Yeah. The most plot. He doesn't even have a scratch on him when you see him later. Like,
nothing.
He doesn't have a burn mark. He's totally fine.
So the elevator they're in is going to crash for reasons that I forgot, but then they teleport out of it at the last minute. And Tina goes, haha, see, I am magic.
Meanwhile, Lilith is like barfing up her entire stomach. And they're like, I guess she just had a bad reaction to it.
Tannis combines the two keys, the one she already had and the new one, and then goes, oh yeah, and we also have the other key. It's her, by the way. Opening the vault might kill the person, but
Okay, why does she think that?
Because it says something about the key being consumed.
Okay, I suppose.
Legends.
Yeah.
That's why you don't trust legends.
Also, when they combine the keys, it very conveniently gives them a glowing map as to where the vault
Yes.
is. And what's this other symbol over here? This might be important.
Yeah, it's only one vault in this one.
Yeah, well, they in the original game it was only one vault, and then when they made a sequel, they were
and then later they decide there's more.
Yeah, they're like, well, okay, we probably need. Actually, no, I think in the lore of the first game, Atlas did find a vault on a different planet, and that's why they're like there.
Yeah, that's what made them a mega corporation.
Okay, yeah.
So Lilith gets contacted by Atlas. It wasn't important. She had a tracking thingy that broke, and then she wanted it repaired. Now she decides she doesn't want to give Tina to Atlas because she's had a turnaround. But Atlas was tracking her anyway.
Yeah, but then Tina's like, oh, you were going to sell me out to Atlas because I overheard just the most inconvenient part of the conversation.
Yeah, even though I still don't know what was going on, because, like, when did Roland said he was working for her dad, and she just went with him, and then I guess off screen they resolved that somehow.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe there's a deleted scene that never saw the light of day. But
now she's like, oh no,
everything.
Lilith, you're working for my dad. I'm going to blow you up now.
Yeah, and even though like her dad in this conversation has to phrase it in such a way that it sounds like Lilith could potentially be working for him, even though he's basically saying, oh, I tricked you and I'm going to kill you all now.
Yeah. because you just have to have this return around so that you can have a big reveal later.
Yes.
So, sloppy. This is sloppy.
So she wakes up from almost being exploded. Claptrap's the only one left. Also turns out that they conveniently camped right next to Lilith's hometown.
It was right atop the Costa Caverns, apparently.
Yeah, where we get some backstory, flashbacky things for the town being destroyed by bandits or raiders or something. She's taken away by Tannis. She finds some old drawings of the Firehawk, which is a legendary Pandoran goddess and protector of the planet. And that triggers Claptrap's R2D mode, where he makes a hologram of Lilith's mom. And Mom goes, hey, sorry I stayed, but you're special, by the way. Good job.
Yep.
Now go find Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tina and the rest of the gang get to a dig site where the vault is. They find a random little pad thing.
This is the hardest I laugh. I watched this movie in the cinema. This is the biggest laugh it got out of me, because they come to this, what's obviously a quarry. There's like these big drill holes everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, where's the vault? It's supposed to be here. And then Krieg just goes over to like a metal grate on the floor, and the vault is just under this metal grate in the middle of this quarry. And it's just...
Yeah, everyone missed it.
Everyone missed it. They just walk past it every day. They never saw this glowy thing on the ground.
So they find the pad thing. I'm going to say this because I feel like it's just indicative of the way the entire movie is handled. They put the key in upside down.
Yep.
Yeah, they put it on top, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to go in, not just sit on there.
They put it down like a Christmas tree.
Well, that way you could see the key the entire time.
I guess so, yes.
And that's important.
Yeah. Then Tina stands on the footpad and is all like, yeah, I'm going to do my thing, and then nothing happens.
Tina, you failed us all. Go blow up some more stuff to make up for it.
Then Atlas shows up because he was apparently just hiding behind a giant cloaked wall thing.
Somehow I guess he saw the map. That's how they found it first, because he had his little drone.
He was waiting for them. Nox is there. The Raiders are there for some reason. The Lance are there.
The Lance and the Raiders have teamed up for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just baffled by that. But hey, it's Crom.
It is Crom for some reason.
But not Crom. It's not Crom, because Crom is like from the first game, and this guy is somebody else from the third game.
No, it's the design of like he's like a DJ dude in the third game. He fights you with like dubstep playing. Mm-hmm.
Which also I forgot to mention. For some reason, Tiny Tina has her costume from the third game.
Yes, even though this is second game sort of era Tiny Tina, but.
Well, it's first game with second game Tiny Tina, because she wasn't in the first game.
Yeah, and also Krieg wasn't in the first game either.
No. Krieg was barely in the second game.
No, he's a DLC character.
He's a DLC character.
Yeah.
Also, Krieg is almost identical to his outfit in the third game as well, so...
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what they were doing. But so, let's see. Atlas shows up, and he orders Nox to collect Tina's organs.
This is another laugh out loud moment.
Roland shows up and like rappels down, shooting at Atlas, but he is the one character in the movie who has a shield.
Yes. Somehow they made it boring though, but yeah.
Yeah, very boring. I guess it's just invincible.
I do like his reveal though. It's like, oh, it would have been such a great entry if not for my super powerful shield. And then he opens up his jacket to reveal his silly little shield generator thing.
Yeah, which is just such an ad. It's like, are you being shot? Why, Atlas Super Shield.
See, that would have been funny, though, if he was always doing, like, ads. It would have been a character trait or something.
At least he should have an assistant. He should have a corporate assistant who walks in, like a really pretty model-looking person, who just walks in. It's like, your life could be saved thanks to the Atlas Ultra Shield.
Yeah, because that's part of the games, too, is it's all this, like, silly advertisement. You've got these vending machines where you can buy guns and stuff like that.
Yeah. So... Nox changes sides.
Yes, well, yeah.
She goes over to Roland and says, Roland, you were right, as if they'd had any interactions in the entire film.
It's indicated before by, I think, Tina or something, or Claptrap says, oh, they used to do it, or something like that. So they have a pre-existing relationship.
Supposedly. Yes. And then, before she can do literally anything, Atlas just vaporizes her with a laser.
Which I guess in terms of, this sort of response to a heel turn, that is apt, but in terms of the story, it's like, well, I guess that just kind of wastes the character.
I mean, she wasn't a character to begin with, so I'm not really heartbroken about it.
But it's like the fact that they put her in as a character, didn't use her for literally anything the entire movie, and then tried to do oh, look, she's turned around to become a good guy at the last minute. Boom.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like... I almost want to give them credit for an intentional joke on this front, almost, because it's so stupid. But I don't know, based on the rest of the movie, if I can give them that credit.
Yeah. The only thing I can think, I have no reason for thinking this is true, but it's the only thing I can think, is that they filmed this scene where she changes sides, and they also filmed a fight scene where she wasn't there. And then they had to find a way to combine those two scenes.
Yeah, okay, I like that theory. Makes sense. Yeah.
So then, of course, Lilith shows up. She's able to teleport down because she's discovered she's the daughter of Iridia and has powers now. She says a really, really weird out-of-nowhere line about how memories are more powerful than anything a corporation could ever have.
Yeah, because this is Borderlands. You see, it's anti-corporate, right?
Yeah, so we put the messaging of the games in. We're good, right?
Sort of. I don't even know what this was supposed to be. They have like 3 different things where they seem to be saying a message or doing the sum up culmination of a message that was not in the film.
No.
So then she opens the vault and it unlocks her full Firehawk powers. So she has big wings, invincible shield thingies. She gives all of her friends invincible shield thingies.
Yeah. Her powers are just whatever. That's annoyed me too, is they show for half a second she gets the tattoos on her arm, which she has in the games, and then the tattoos disappear again. I'm like, why don't you just...
then they're never there again.
Yeah, why don't you just leave the tattoos? That's like an iconic part of Lilith's design.
I know, they don't do...
filmed it without
because they wanted this to be a... They both wanted the siren thing to be a big reveal, but they also didn't want to go into sirens, which is kind of one of the core sci-fi conceits of the Borderlands universe.
I guess it's kind of more of a sci-fi or a fantasy conceit at the end of the day, because it's
very, it's like science fiction fantasy.
Yeah,
it's like like Star Wars style.
Yeah, I mean, also part of my problem with Borderlands 3 is like they just kind of don't know what they're doing with sirens at that point, but that's a whole different topic.
I know, they made such weird stuff with the sirens.
Yeah. I
spent the last week watching lore videos, so I am now a weird expert on Borderlands lore, and
great.
I don't like it.
Oh man, you probably took in more than I did somehow.
Yeah, like the ancient alien stuff in Borderlands has always been more of like a plot device than it has been an interesting plot element.
Mm-hmm. Like like almost any ancient aliens thing in anything. It's the most boring way of explaining. Mass Effect is the only thing that did anything interesting with it at all.
Yes.
And I think kind of barely, if I'm being honest.
I think the Reapers are a pretty cool ancient alien thing.
I mean, they're a cool, like, looking thing. I feel like the whole, like, actually your universe is just a giant cycle of growth and rebirth as foretold by ancient alien prophecy. It's like, that's interesting enough, but, like, I don't know if it's the thing to hang an entire 3-part series on.
Well, I've been enjoying the Expeditionary Force series, and their ancient alien business, I think, is one of the more interesting takes on it. But it also has the element of they run into a leftover AI from those aliens that has a bit of a memory gap about a lot of things, but is trying to do his best and is kind of an asshole.
So
he also has ethics. And
2 more sidetracks, because we've got like half a paragraph left of this thing.
Take us away.
They have a very confusing fight. Eventually, everybody basically wins except Atlas has grabbed Tina and demands to be let into the vault. So Lilith grabs both of them and takes them all into the vault. The vault is just a big thing full of glowy cubes.
Yes. It's like a screensaver.
Yeah.
It's a series of cubes.
Lilith, like, sneaks up behind Atlas and grabs his shield, which lets Tina, like, stomp on his foot and run away.
I think she kicks him in the balls, doesn't she?
I couldn't tell.
I'm fairly sure she hits his balls at one point because he goes down.
Which I will say bothers me very slightly, because the one thing that for some reason they do not have in the games, which if they were going to have it in any game, it feels like Borderlands would be the place to do it. The balls are not a critical hit zone.
That's true. Yeah, that is a mistake.
Everyone wears a cup.
So they go into the big cube thing. She steals his shield. They get away. She has like one line about, I have something that he will never have. Enough. And then they just leave him there in the middle of the vault.
She says, oh, you won't be alone down here. How do you know that, Lilith?
I know. And then there's a tentacle monster.
Yeah, because there's a tentacle monster in the game. Except,
you can see.
Except in the game, it's like a big twist. It's a big reveal because you're like, oh, there's going to be treasure in the vault. But then you get there.
What's in the vault? Oh my god.
Yeah. And you get there and, it's actually just a giant tentacle monster that's going to destroy everything. Whoops. Guess you shouldn't have been so greedy, you idiots. That's the plot of the game.
Oh no, Cthulhu. Let's leave.
Then they go back to Sanctuary and there's a fireworks show. We see like a weird lingering shot of characters that I'm not sure if they're supposed to just be there as references or if they had scenes at one point and just got cut. Because it's weird. They're like in the promotional stuff and things. Like there's promotional photos of the woman who plays Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that they're in one shot for 2 seconds.
I think I missed Ellie entirely. I didn't see Ellie in this movie at all.
Ellie and Scooter are both standing next to Moxie at the end.
That's insane. I completely missed that. I did see in one of the shots with Moxie that Jessica Negri is standing behind her. So that was my cameo that I noticed.
So we get a shot of all the characters that we haven't seen. And then Tina asks Lilith to flame on.
Yes.
Flame
Well, there's
on.
also a line where I think Lilith says, like, oh, you hear that? That's the sound of freedom, or something like that.
Yeah. Or peace, maybe. Forget if it was freedom or peace.
Peaceful
Also,
freedom.
This is a nitpick, but she has her jacket, even though we saw the jacket get disintegrated when she got her
the jacket
powers.
burned up. Which
Yeah,
also
but she-
does, I don't know why.
No, me neither.
Yeah. Just so you can show the tattoo for half a second, I guess.
Well, then you have like the one arm burn off, so it looks like the games, but no, it didn't even do that.
And that's Borderlands, a movie
That's
that
Borderlands.
seems to be about nothing, as far as I can figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's
I-
freedom. I don't know.
I just find myself fascinated by this movie's creation. What a cavalcade of errors and just bad decisions.
I can't work it out exactly because there's that famous thing from like the Halo TV show where the creator of the Halo show said he didn't bother learning anything about the games because he wanted to
Yeah.
make his own thing. But this has enough little like references and things that people knew about the games. People
Someone
knew
clearly
what was
played
going on in the games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's slightly too much for it to be like, oh, they had no idea, because that's the thing with like older video game adaptations, like the Mario Brothers movie and all that, where like they just have basically nothing to do with the actual game at all.
Yeah, where somebody just like took it to make their own thing.
Yeah.
I do think I seem to remember. I couldn't find it now, but I seem to remember something where Uwe Boll came out and said, "Oh, I tried to make a Borderlands movie a while ago, and they wouldn't let me. See where that got you."
Oh, I'm sure yours would have been much better, Uwe Boll. Yes.
I don't even remember the last thing I've heard people complain about him making. Now that I think about it.
I don't think he's made any of those video game movies in quite a while.
No,
Yeah.
they eventually learned to stop
Right.
giving him those.
Yeah. For anybody who's not familiar, Uwe Boll's a very infamous director who bought really, really cheap rights to video game franchises when nobody thought they were worth anything, and then just made his own terrible, terrible movies,
Yes.
like Blood Rain.
Yeah, I was going to say Blood Raid. And several sequels, I think.
Yes, for some reason.
Yeah, but this is not that though. This is like someone thought this was a good idea eventually. I know that like Randy Pitchford, who's the CEO of Gearbox, the company that makes the games, he's weirdly invested in this movie.
Yeah, he wanted a Borderlands cinematic universe.
Yes.
This is not
yeah.
how to do that.
Without getting into too much, Randy Pitchford's a real weirdo. I cannot believe he's not been cancelled yet.
I know, he's a terrible, terrible person. He's a
Yeah.
terrible excuse for a human being. As are all video game executives.
Yeah, but he's so
yeah.
public about it, you know.
Yeah, he is.
All those other game executives, they know to like just keep in the shadows and be weird in the shadows. He's weird in public.
I just don't know. It came out a while ago that one of the reasons that they changed voice actors for Claptrap is because
He punched
Pitchford
him.
physically assaulted him.
Yeah.
Oof. Don't do that.
Yeah, there's that. There's the slightly not safe for work, but he was found to have like a bunch of pornography on like a work laptop or something like that.
It was a flash drive
Yes.
that he accidentally left at medieval times.
Yes. And yeah, no, there's a podcast where he goes on later where he's like, oh, I wasn't using it for that. I was just very fascinated by the technique.
Yeah, he wanted to use something about the performance to inspire him
Oh,
to
yes,
do
'cause
something.
He's
A little baffled.
yeah, he's a close-up magician. He does like magic tricks. That's his thing.
And so pornography plus magic tricks plus
Yes.
medieval times equals great idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it's a perfectly normal thing for you to go to medieval times with your USB drive filled with pornography.
Or USB drive at all, honestly.
He is genuinely like a real life character who would appear in a Borderlands game.
He is.
And in a Borderlands game, you would shoot him at the end of the quest.
Yeah.
For being a weirdo.
Which I think gets us to like, there's two things that I feel like are like core failures as an adaptation for this movie. And I think the one main one is this. I think it might just be a timing thing because movies aren't allowed to have fun anymore. And if there's one thing that the Borderlands games are, it is just exuberant. They love
Yeah.
everything they're doing. one of the main like character barks, the like little bits of dialogue and stuff you get from your character as you're playing, are them just enjoying killing people. You'll get headshots on people and go, look at that guy's head exploded. They'll just laugh maniacally for 5 or 10 minutes. It's just, they are loving every second of what they're doing in this game.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the one mission from Borderlands 2 where you're helping the one village there get their defenses ready, and the lady has you set up a mortar system to basically test the shield to make sure it's working well. And it's like, all right, put it at these coordinates and fire away. And then, it's like you start getting a message from the guy who's been haranguing you for the last couple of missions from the village. And, like, oh, this lady's, not is terrible. Only a real man could be able to have this job, really. And then the mortar round lands on his house. And she's like, all right, good. Now I'm going to turn the shield on.
Yes. Good. It's calibrated properly. Yes.
That sort of humor is like the foundation of this series here.
That weird black humor. Yeah, that's a huge part of the franchise.
And there's none of that here. Like,
no.
Just none.
No, because it's PG-13.
I don't know how they managed to do that, though, because, they got Claptrap completely wrong as a character, which we talked about. But even if you aren't as big of a fan of Jack Black, he should have been funny once by accident.
Yeah.
It's bizarre how not likable Jack Black in this movie, because I like Jack Black a lot. I think Jack Black is usually quite fun in everything he's in. Like that sequel to whatever he said before.
Even if he's not the best character for it, he's funny.
Even when he bafflingly showed up in Star Wars, I'm like, it's fine. I like Jack Black. But in this, it's just the character is so. It feels silly to say that Claptrap is unlikable because it's partly kind of part of Claptrap, but
but Claptrap's unlikable in that endearing way where you wouldn't you wouldn't want to be around this person, but also I knew this person. I used to live too close to this person in college. I know this guy.
Just so excited to be here all the time, and yet he's so annoying.
In terms of, because I was thinking about this, because before I went into this movie, I was under the impression that you could never make a Borderlands movie. I don't think that's true. I think you could make this work. First of all, I think it should be an animated movie if you're going to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, easily.
Because then you can just make it look like the games, because the cel-shaded art style of Borderlands is so essential to the look of the games.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's really hard to remember now because everything copied it so much, but it was the first game to really push that kind of art style.
Yeah, and it's lent into it more and more, and it's really made it its own. They're very good-looking games, and because of the art style, they hold up very well in terms of graphics.
Remarkably. The only thing that's weird going back to the old games is the animation is terrible, but the graphics hold up well because of the art, because it's an art style instead of a trying to be super realistic thing that ages really poorly in a year.
Yeah, indeed. But even beyond that, it's crazy to me that even the more small iconic things in Borderlands games, they don't do the things where you meet a character and you get the title screen of the character.
Yeah, which has been in everything.
Yeah, that's such an iconic Borderlands flourish that they just don't bother with, even though, you should do it because it saves you on pointless exposition. You this is this character's name, this is what they do, let's keep moving.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had to introduce anybody at all. You would have just had to have a title screen pop up.
Mm-hmm. It could have even been a thing that, when Lilith's not on Pandora, just okay, we're running into these people. It's just sort of normal movie stuff. But we get to Pandora, and then the title screen starts showing up.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a cliche thing to say, I guess, but Pandora in the games is a character into itself. Mm-hmm. It's a weird place full of weird people and weird animals and all this. And Pandora in this movie has no vibe at all.
Yeah, it's so soulless. It's just a desert.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought was
just
odd.
Seems like a trash
because the whole thing they're setting up with Lilith, if you can say they set up anything, is how much she doesn't want to live there. She doesn't see it as a place she wants to go back to. Yeah. And an underlying theme of some of the second game, especially when you get into the last Commander Lilith DLC, is sort of this whole like, yeah, this place is terrible and it's constantly trying to kill you and no one should live here, but it's home.
Yeah, it's our terrible shithole and we're going to defend it. Yeah.
It might be our cesspool, but we're going to defend it.
Yeah. And in terms of like stuff they didn't bring over from the games, I almost want to give them credit for not using Handsome Jack, because like that would be the obvious thing to do because he's one of the most famous villains in game history.
Except counterpoint, why in the hell didn't they use Handsome Jack?
Yeah, exactly, right. Why did we get the most boring villain ever instead of a villain that's interesting?
Because like I think that's either you would have to make up a villain whole cloth, probably. I guess you could use like actual Commander Nox.
You could use actual. I mean, I will say the main villain of the base game of the original Borderlands is really boring.
Yeah, Steel is not a character.
Yeah, I understand why they didn't use her particularly, but yeah, this guy's not any better.
Like Handsome Jack would actually work now, especially with the way that they have an anti-corporate message, because douchey tech CEO is a pretty easy to go for villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it would work perfctly well. Instead. Oh, sorry.
I almost kind of wanted a thing at the end of the movie, just to sort of tease something about Jack. Not a face reveal or anything like that, but just sort of if we end up with a sequel, we might have a different, better villain, guys. Please.
Yeah, Claptrap pops in. It's like, I thought you wanted to see this guy. Oh, well, next time. Which would have been more tonally consistent with the games.
Oh yeah, they do tease Jack at the end of the first game, don't they? Or they tease Hyperion at least at the end of the first game. Yeah, they tease Hyperion.
So I think that I was gonna say, like, as an adaptation, this fails a lot. And I think it's because the games are weirdly thought out, especially for games of the time period when they released.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you.
I forget the first game's release, but like the second one was like 2012, had a lot of 2012 humor.
Yeah, I think the first one's 2010.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Or maybe 2000, or maybe 2009. It's around about then.
Yeah,
but I think it's weird. Like, if you look at Tiny Tina and Lilith and just the way the female characters in Borderlands are handled is weirdly good, but in such a strange backward way.
I love Moxie in the games. Yeah. I think she's a really cool character and really well fleshed out in terms of she's not just like eye candy. She's an interesting character.
So we were talking about this. I was talking this over with my partner, and they came up with the best way to figure out the female characters in this game. Because like if you look at Moxie is not written as an overly sexualized, oh my god, look at this character with boobs video game character, which you would expect given her character design. Yes. But she is not. She's also only sort of written like a reasonable human being. She's written the way that a man who is still in the mindset of a 14-year-old boy would imagine what being a sexy woman is like. Because she's very provocative in her sexuality. She's that stereotype of like a 15-year-old boy goes, well, if I had giant boobs, I'd go to the bar and flirt with people until I got free drinks.
Then I'd own the bar because I got all the free drinks. Aha!
I like that Moxie has depth in the games though. Like you'd learn like she does do that on purpose, right?
Yes.
That's part of her character It keeps people off guard because they think that she is just that cliche. But actually, she's smart and intelligent and is one of the smarter characters in the games, I think.
Yeah, she's a trained mechanic and engineer. She's like weirdly adult for the game. She has 2 completely grown-up children and other children that you don't see. Children.
Yeah. So she has to be at least in her 50s, I think.
Yeah. Which makes sense, like future technology. Anybody could be any age and look like whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is one of the things of how they just like, they obviously not intentionally, because they didn't do anything with it, but they got every character in the movie so just enough off that it's noticeable and bothersome.
Yes.
Because there's one thing that you learn about Moxie. There's a whole voice line where she does have a southern accent. And she purposely doesn't use it.
Yeah, that's her natural accent. She sounds very like southern and country because You learn later in her backstory that she grew up in like a redneck clan, basically.
Yeah, and there's one voice line where she slips back into it for a minute and goes, "Oh my god, I did the accent. Don't tell anyone."
Yeah, don't tell anyone, I'll kill you. I think she says. And then in this movie, she has the southern accent. So what?
Which is like you either looked at the character and looked at the setting, which is a very like, science fiction Old West sort of vibe. And you went, well, here's the bartender for an Old West town. She should have the southern accent. Or you learned enough about the character to know she has a southern accent, but also not enough to know she doesn't use her southern accent.
So either kind of lazy or lazy in a different way.
I lean towards the second one because of all the other stuff the game gets slightly wrong like that. Like it's like someone told the director or the actor like, oh yeah, this character has a southern accent, and they were like, okay. And they didn't actually know, but someone knew and someone told them, and they're getting like secondhand information.
Yeah, it seems like just reading the Wikipedia page.
Yes.
It's almost like there's been a series of filters put in between the making of the movie and the games, that things are just being rotated slightly through each filter until it's marginally recognizable, but definitely not the exact same thing, or even anything really close. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of things to go over as adaptation, but I think there was one thing that I really wanted to make sure got mentioned, because they bring up the Firehawk as like this weird god character in the movie.
Yes, and this ancient Pandoran legend or whatever.
And the Firehawk quests in Borderlands 2 show some of the weirdest amount of nuance that I've seen in this kind of game writing. Because the Firehawk thing is you get sent out to contact a like bandit leader / cult leader named the Firehawk, and you have no idea who this is in Borderlands 2, and then you get there and it's a big reveal. Oh my god, it's Lilith from the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then later, she has a whole series of quests where she sends you back to the same place she was hanging out, because she's like, all these guys started worshiping me as a god, and that could be bad.
Yes,
and
so through
the course of the thing, you work with this cult leader, and he's like, go light all these like effigies to show that we worship the Firehawk. And she comes on the radio. It's like, okay, I guess that's not too bad. That's fine.
Yeah, there's this guy who wants to like burn this himself alive in honor of her or something.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's bad, but I guess the guy wants it, and he seems to be enjoying himself, so maybe it's not too terrible. And then eventually you get to, oh no, they're actually capturing people and sacrificing them in your name. Damn. I guess we do have to do something about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like all of this just happened by accident. She was just doing her thing, and people started worshiping her and thinking she was a god.
Yeah, and then she used it because she was hiding out from people. So it's like, okay, fine. At least they're not using my real name.
Yeah.
But I think the whole series of quests is it shows her character really well. It shows the world really well. It shows this whole, like, the entire time as the player and her as the character, you can see that this is going to end badly. Everyone knows this is going to end badly, but every step of the way she's trying to talk herself into the fact that maybe it's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that in terms of writing, especially the second game, Borderlands gets a bad rap for just being nothing but jokes. I mean, like, also, on top of all of that, the questline is funny because it's absurd that these people are, like, they're very weird, and that's part of the Borderlands charm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of really well thought out character stuff
there is. And
in those games.
Even when she shows up at the end of that quest line, she appears in a flaming explosion and is like, I am your god, stop doing this. And like, no, we're still going to kill the people.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I think they say something like, oh, it's a test from her ladyship or something like that.
Which is just this commentary on religion. I mean, it's basically Dune. It's Dune in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It
also reminds me a little bit of The Life of Brian, where they just start worshiping him.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you here?
So I think if there's one thing that the Borderlands games do really, really well, it's they use their absurd premise and their just gleeful, murdery enjoyment, and then all of a sudden hit you with the most depressing thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, well, that's Tina, right? That's Tina's whole deal as a character in the games, which they just don't get into at all in this movie.
Yeah, they don't even bother.
Because, Tina is the same. She presents as this, like, ridiculously over-the-top character of, like, She talks in like millennial slang constantly, but the thing with Tiny Tina that makes her work is she has this over the top ball of energy, ridiculous. But then, like you say, the game hits you with these super extremely real moments. Like we alluded to Flesh Stick earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like, why don't you hit Flesh Stick in his stupid face or whatever it was, the line there. It's like, well, or bitch ass face. There we go.
Yeah, his bitch ass face. But yeah, and then it comes out that like, oh, he's the guy who like sold out her parents and got her parents murdered. And it's like, oh god.
Yeah,
okay.
The entire intro is played so well because they just say, go to the Tundra Express and meet our explosives expert. And that's all they tell you. And then you show up and this random 13-year-old girl starts yelling millennial slang at you. And,
yes.
And that's just funny. And then it's like, oh yeah, and her parents were sold out by this guy, slowly murdered in experiments in front of her. And then the only reason she was able to escape is her mom gave her a grenade, and that explains why she's so obsessed with explosives.
Yeah. And all the Tiny Tina DLC for Borderlands 2 is all that as well. With spoiler alert, Roland gets killed in the base game, and the whole DLC is this sort of, it's funny, it's a parody of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's also this sort of really in-depth analysis of grief and loss.
Yeah, it's some of the like weirdest shit. You get hit, like spoilers for that because it's so old. You have to have played this.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
But you're at the like last scene of the DLC. Roland's insert character shows up and is like, he's about to like whatever, and they all just yell at her. All the characters start yelling at her for trying to bring Roland back because they're all also hurt by their friend dying.
Yeah, they're all sad, and it's like you're just kind of making him this ultimate character in this adventure we're on. That's kind of hurting all of us too at this point.
And then she has a full emotional breakdown. Like we cut away and just show the character having a full-on emotional breakdown about having to deal with the death of her surrogate father figure.
Yeah, that's all the stuff that the games I've always found are not so much with Borderlands 3. I have a lot of problems with Borderlands 3, but when Borderlands is good, it strikes that balance really well of being absurd, but also like actually landing its emotional beats. And yeah, this movie isn't absurd or have any emotional beats.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't have any dark stuff, but it also doesn't enjoy anything. I feel like the whole thing is just toneless.
Yes, it's such a strange pick, because even looking at like what they obviously want to be Guardians of the Galaxy. They're going for that like ragtag group gets together, which I think if you're trying to do a Borderlands story in a movie, I think that's a fine direction to go in, because that's kind of what the games are. Yeah, but you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, and it also has way better jokes and is way more lands the emotional stuff. Like, it gets it in the way this movie doesn't.
Well, the strange thing with that archetype of here's our ragtag bag of misfits that all get together and get along despite them being so different because they're the only people they can have for each other.
Yes.
Every single one of those people is a character.
Yes.
None of these are characters.
Well, I mean, what's the like narrative difference between Lilith and Roland in this movie? They're both exactly the same.
Yeah, they both want to rescue Tina for unspecified reasons. Neither of them seems to want to be there. Mm-hmm. They both are competent at killing people.
Yeah, they're both very serious. Yep.
And neither of them use their special abilities.
No. Yeah. Yeah. They're both completely redundant to each other.
Lilith should be having fun, and Roland should be overly serious because he's an ex-soldier, and Krieg is a weird choice.
I'll never understand why they took Krieg, because, like, in the games, Brick, who's, like, the big guy in the first game, Brick's a really fun character. I love Brick.
Yeah, Brick's great.
I'll punch him.
He's this big guy. He loves punching. He's like, I don't know, the big guy with a heart of gold kind of cliche always kind of works for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, because he's also, like, slightly dumb and loves puppies, and...
Yeah. Like a big part, and then again, with the dark stuff, you learn that part of his backstory is that Handsome Jack murdered his dog.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so pissed off at everything.
Even if you didn't want someone who talked that much. In the Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep thing that we were talking about, where you get a lot of characterization for these guys, Brick's most common line is, I punch him.
Yeah.
Yep.
He causes, like, genuine problems in the story of the game because he just likes punching things.
Yeah.
Like, you get to this point where you're talking to, like, the king of the dwarves or something.
I punch him.
Yeah, fireball and he punches him, which means you have to fight the dwarves through their entire city because he punched the king.
Good times.
It's good times.
I think that's the thing. It's not good times in the movie. Like,
It's not good
I keep
times.
going back to it, but it's the old, like, I think it's just the main difference that they did is like no one enjoys anything they're doing.
Yeah, it's a strange choice.
Everyone's just going through the motions, I suppose. It's like, and then hooray, we have a Borderlands movie product at the end.
Yeah, and I get you wanted Kate Blanchett as your big name star, but you should have done something different with the character then. You should have like written around it if you wanted her to play Lilith.
Yeah, and Kate Blanchett can be fun and ham it up. Like,
Yeah.
she's great as Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
She's having a great time in that movie. Like, Kate Blanchett can do silly.
I mean, that's probably what they should have done is since Steel, who's the antagonist of the first game, is a nothing character, they should have just had her play Steel.
That could have been interesting, yeah.
And just let her ham it up as a villain.
Yeah, that would be fun, yeah.
All right, we're gonna remake this movie, but like good now, and call up Kate and we'll get it rolling.
Well,
all
like
right?
I kind of hate doing the like alternate thing, but once I saw the ending where they just had all of the Raiders and all of the Atlas people there working together for some reason, I was like, the only way that they could have reasonably done this to get this fight scene to happen in the movie is if they ended it the same way that they did with Serenity, where you spend the entire movie. This would have worked because they spend the entire movie with Lilith saying she doesn't want to be there, and then you have to figure out that it's actually your home and you have a connection to the place and it's where you want to live. And then the only way you can beat the corporation is by baiting all of the bandits to follow you and fight them for you.
That would work, and you
That
know,
would work.
yeah, it's something that happens in the game sometimes. So
Yeah, I think, like, the games in the first game, the reason that the bandits are fighting you as well as and not fighting the Crimson Lands is because they put a giant bounty on your head, right?
Yeah.
That's the only explanation.
They also don't really appear in the same levels at the same time.
No, it's true. Yeah, I think there's one point where you like get ambushed and you see that they've killed all the bandits who are already there,
Yeah.
so they've replaced them as the enemies in the zone.
Mm-hmm. So they don't do the Crimson Lance and the Raiders at the same points at the same time. I think that it's as much... I was thinking about this because I've been, like I said, I've been learning all of the Borderlands lore for the last week. And
Yeah.
as much like weird backstory exposition as they gave to this movie, one, they made most of it up for the movie for no particular reason, but also all of the depressing stuff, all the stuff that makes Borderlands work as like a world actually is sort of complicated because you have the planet that was strip mined by the Doll Corporation, who left all of the people there who you're fighting because they used prison labor and then just left everybody behind when they left. And then Atlas came in later to do stuff.
Yeah. Almost everyone in the first game is like a former DAL employee that you meet. Like Tannis used to work for DAL. Most of the NPCs used to work for DAL. The company just pulled out when the planet was out of resources and like, fend for yourself. We don't care about you.
Yeah, and then
get it
so
right?
like
No.
you have to introduce an entire other mega corporation to explain why everything's here, and then Atlas comes in to like take the scraps and find the vault, which is the only thing of value left on the planet.
Yeah.
And then game
like,
2, you
yeah.
have the entire other corporation.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like Borderlands as like a universe, it's like capitalism to the complete ridiculous extremes where there is no government anymore. There's just corporations.
they're the ones that
There's
are
just-
exercising power and
Yeah,
influence.
it's sort of the like it's tonally it's not, but like story-wise it's cyberpunk, but in that we've gotten to space, so now every mega corporation has their own planet.
Yeah, and that's why I was like that about Pandora as a setting, which is it's a wasteland in a sort of traditional sense, but not like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's an abandoned wasteland where there used to be industry here, but now it's all just gone to ruin because it ran out.
It's the epitome
Leftovers.
of the like old Western aesthetic. It's on the borders of
Yes.
society, but it's also the mining town that the company pulled out of. And now
Yes,
there's
exactly.
like now it's basically a ghost town that no one can survive in.
Yeah. And as you go along through the games, you get like this plucky group of people who are trying to survive in this wasteland anyway, because it's all they've got, you know?
Yeah.
So they make the most of it.
Well, a big part of the like almost the anti-corporateness of the thing is essentially like you have the corporations who are trying to track down the vault and the resources and all the stuff. And you also have you, who's essentially a freelancer.
Yes.
Because you're just doing it outside of corporate control, and you're going to do whatever with it. And the corporation doesn't like that because they can't control you.
So you must be stopped. Kill them. Save us, Princess Flufflybutt.
And then you have all the other stuff that I don't know if it would have worked, but like I'm just kind of surprised because they didn't seem to worry about what would have worked otherwise. But for some reason, Angel isn't in this movie at all.
No, yeah, because that's a pretty big important part of the first two games is this weird voice in your head that tells you like what you're doing.
Yeah, which is just non-existent, and I don't know why. Like, I would say that they didn't put it in because narratively it's a little weird and wouldn't necessarily work in a movie, but that doesn't seem to have stopped them doing anything else.
Yeah. They do the weird thing in the movie, which I guess I kind of understand, of combining the siren stuff with the vault stuff and like making it the same thing.
They sort of did that in Borderlands 3.
They sort of do that in Borderlands 3, but for the first couple of games, like Lilith being a siren in the first game is just an excuse to give her special powers.
Yeah.
It has no narrative
It's like
aspects
it's just
whatsoever.
in the first game it's just there. This person is a siren and has special powers. Cool.
It's just a thing in this universe, is that sometimes women are born with special powers.
Cool. Let's roll with it. Let's go.
Yeah, good. We got it.
She has magic powers. This guy has a bird.
And then in the second game, they introduce more sirens. And then in the third game, they over-explain sirens to absurdity.
Yes. Yes, they certainly do. Well, it's annoying because they somehow over-explain them while still not actually explaining anything. It's bizarre. Like, they introduce a bunch of, like, rules and lore and stuff, but never actually get into what they are.
Or whatever they need to be for this particular game.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they introduce this, like, very complicated system of, like, who gets whose powers. If, like, you're thinking of this person when you die, then they pass on their powers. It's bizarre.
Which, like, I think that was one of the things I kept thinking of, like, they obviously don't want to have to deal with sirens. I guess because they feel like they would have to explain it if somebody just showed up with superpowers.
It's a post-MCU world. Yeah. You don't need to explain that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But then they also introduce this weird prophecy thing, which I will always argue that any kind of chosen one prophecy completely undermines any semblance of an anti-corporate message.
Yeah, it doesn't really match, does it?
Which I don't know why they did. It doesn't... I mean, I can't think about it too hard, because if I say I don't know why they did it, that's the entire movie.
That is a good question, though. We don't know why they did it, other than that one bit with the dog.
Yes, so that you can have claptrap bullets. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Claptrap pooping bullets seems to be the most planned out part of the entire film.
Whoops. Is Sir Reginald gonna show up in a sequel?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Because I think that's, like, we were talking about Tiny Tina, but even as a character, she's very believably a 13-year-old girl in the games. Because even with all of the other stuff put on top, she has you organize a tea party and find her toys that she's named, like, Sir Reginald Winklebottom the 14th.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just such a dark, like, the whole thing is so dark, because even without knowing her entire backstory, here is a 13-year-old who's throwing a tea party to torture a guy to death.
Yeah, and putting stuffing bombs in these, like, cuddly toys and naming them and blowing up people with them. Yeah, and laughing maniacally, she does so.
I'm gonna steal this from, like, a YouTube thing that I saw, and I didn't pull it up, so I can't accurately credit the person. Dang it.
Yeah.
I was watching some reviews to try to get, like, other people's takes on this thing. And somebody mentioned there's a line when Lilith meets Tina. She says, "Could you grab my badonkadonk?" And then there's a reaction. Lilith looks at her funny and goes, "Excuse me?" And then she points at, like, a toy. And it's like, oh, she named the toy her badonkadonk. And it's a reference to the game, but in the game, it's blown past really fast. It's not the name of the toy, but also it's just thrown in there in this just manic string of dialogue. So it's like, here's this missile thing, you need to get this thing, here's the name of this missile, here's the name of this missile that they stole here, but Donkadonk, go get it.
Yep. It's like, oh, okay.
I think actually after that line, she just says nap time and then collapses into a bed.
Yes.
Nap time.
So that they don't have to have her talk anymore.
And this is why Tina's kind of awesome.
Yeah, no. And then in this movie, Tina's just like I guess the best word is like generic movie kid.
Yeah. Apparently, I saw an interview where for some reason the director told her to think of Tina like a young Harley Quinn, which it probably explains a lot of the bad direction in this movie.
I guess. Yeah.
How would that even work, really?
Yeah, I don't... She's not really playing like Harley Quinn, I would say.
No,
I wouldn't say.
And she's not... It doesn't describe the character even remotely.
No, it definitely does not.
It's like there's pathos in the things. Like, I keep coming back to it because, like, I was really, really into these games when they first came out. I, was very into the gaming scene in the, early 2010s into through the 2012s. I still am more or less, but that's when I was really doing the I'm online with everyone, I'm talking to everybody, and these were so unique for being so enjoyable, having so much fun with their content, having such interesting and likable characters. Because they're the other stuff around this, it wasn't exactly the same time, but I remember when I was playing this with my friends, we were also going through Halo 3 and Gears of War. We were still playing Borderlands 2 at that time, and just comparing those, it's Gears of War and Halo, they're good games. No one's having any fun. Those people are not having fun.
No, those are very serious games. Yeah.
Got to complete the mission, otherwise everyone dies.
Yeah, they're serious games for serious people. And then Borderlands comes in, it's hey, remember when you used to play games because they were fun?
Let's have some fun.
No, I think you're right when you say, a huge part of the games is the characters are having fun. And no one in this movie wants to be there. And I guess it's because they feel like it's more dramatic if, they have to learn to accept that they want to be there and stuff. But,
there's one thing that I see the narrative impulse. This movie didn't do it, but I see the narrative impulse for someone to go we're going to write this as an origin story to this is how the characters became the characters that you know and love. And then by the end of the movie, they are that. But I've always hated it because then you have an entire movie that is not the characters that you know and love and wanted to see.
It's set up for something that we don't get.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's it's making a movie with the assumption that you're going to get a sequel immediately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I think just I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking in circles. I don't want to keep us going with that for too long. But I think Krieg really sort of shows off the entire problem because he is very game accurate.
Yes and no. He looks very game accurate. The thing with Krieg is Krieg is a complicated character, but the thing that makes him interesting narratively is that he has a split personality, which they get into a lot in the Krieg DLC in Borderlands 3.
Yeah, which you can't really get across very well, even in the second game which Borderlands, I should say, for people who haven't played, has this weird narrative thing where the characters that you play in one game aren't expanded on as characters until the next game.
Yeah, except for the pre-sequel, but yeah. Yeah, because in the first game, you're all silent protagonists other than these combat callouts and stuff like that.
And
then when you get to the next game, suddenly these are basically the most important NPCs in the second game.
Yeah, which I think works better because you know these people and it makes sense why they're important.
Yeah. They didn't quite figure out how to do it in the third game, but yeah.
But yeah, Krieg, that's the thing that I was going to try to get into, because Krieg has a really interesting internal monologue sort of thing that makes him a compelling character that you can't really get into in gameplay very easily. And they did that in the movie. They made this is what Krieg would look like if you just were watching him in Borderlands 2. He just runs in, beats up people, yells some nonsensical catchphrases.
I think, that's it's the trailer, I think, for Krieg. It's a little short film they made of him. It's great. It's you have like the internal monologue of this guy like, oh, this is my life now. I'm just this horrible monster who murders people. And well, the horrible monster just like chopping people up. It's like, yeah, this is just a day in the life of Krieg. And yeah, you can't do that in the movie. Yeah, because you can't shoot inside his head unless you make Krieg the main character, which that would have been such a choice. It would have been
really interesting. But then they took away, like, I can see not wanting to explain that. That would have to be an entire movie by itself to do Krieg and his backstory and the way sirens can, like, read his mind and so can translate his gibberish into actual thoughts.
There's also the whole, like, popular fan theory that he's Tina's dad, which I guess is why they have a relationship in this movie.
Yeah, but, I guess I could see that, but then she doesn't have a dad in this movie.
No, she's a clone for some reason.
Yeah, which doesn't come up and doesn't do anything. I was kind of curious, maybe just as like a like semi-final thing, so we don't keep going around in circles talking about how pointless this movie is forever.
Everyone's a clone in this movie, clearly.
I was really curious what either of you two thought, because it felt like there were 3 or 4 places where they either were going to start a point that didn't go anywhere, or they were wrapping up a point that didn't happen. Because I feel like the Tiny Tina being a clone should be the start of some sort of narrative something. Like, is she coming to terms with her identity? Yes. Is she having trouble with the idea that she's not a real person? Is that why she's so obsessed with being special? Because it's the only thing she can hang her personality onto. And then they didn't do anything.
Or maybe like she's lacking a parent figure because she latches onto Roland like in the games as a surrogate father figure or something like that.
Yeah, and then it just occurred to me with like the stuff at the end where they have the line about how memories are the most important thing, and they have the line about how now she has enough. It's like, did either of you get the sense that there were like 3 versions of this movie that were supposed to have points that they forgot to put in, but didn't take out the things that were supposed to start or end those points?
Yeah, I've got that impression myself. Sort of like ones you already mentioned, but there is, I guess, options for it was in terms of like Lilith's relationship with her mother, for instance. That there's complicated baggage with Tanis as well, all sort of wrapped up there. And in terms of the narrative of the film, it pushes things forward as all right, you might be the person that is the final piece, the key business here, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of, having this all coincidentally set up, via claptraps recording and programming and all of that, it's almost like there's maybe some, almost like a precognition sort of like, we figured out the prophecy business you were narrating about earlier. And then past this point, that doesn't really kind of touch upon anything. So does this imply that Lilith's mom was a siren as well, or something similar, or Tanis and her had figured out something, but Tanis for some reason doesn't remember it? And if so, does that mean that there is some sort of a problem in Tanis's backstory that we need to now resolve? What's going on?
Yeah, it didn't occur to me, but like that does create such a big weird hole in the movie that as a turnaround, obviously it doesn't work, but I see what they were doing as like we're going to set up Tina as the obvious chosen one and then pull a switcheroo and it's Lilith who's the chosen one. But they give you a reason to think that Tina would be the chosen one because she's the Iridian clone. Yeah. So then when Lilith is the chosen one for apparently no reason, it does kind of leave a weird hole in like, so why was there prophecy then?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's also like with that whole scene where she Obi-Wan's with her mum, we never really get the sense that, I guess they tried, but that she has like unresolved baggage with her mum. I think partly because she's 50 and it's like, I guess she's kind of over it at this point, right? It's been like 30 years. She's moved on.
That's one of the things that struck me so hard. Like, because her entire character arc is, I need to get over some unresolved issues and come into my power, which is a weird thing to do in your 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you can do in your 50s if you're still trying to get there. But in terms of a narrative, yeah, that seems to be a little on the late side.
Except that in the beginning of the movie, they establish that she has a well-established career.
Yeah.
Like, she shows up at the bar and people know her Atlas knows to come to her because she's good at what she does. She's not really having a like identity crisis.
No, she seems like kind of down, I guess, but that just seems like a quality of the world she lives in as opposed to anything personal. I don't know.
You could have her having a midlife crisis, which would be interesting, and it would also lean into the weird way that the game writes female characters as if they're male characters.
She buys a big spaceship and goes to Pandora to treasure hunt. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would work out really well. That's as good a motivation as anything.
Yeah, that's a motivation. Yeah.
So another rewrite suggestion. All right, the Atlas shows up. It's like, you're going to find this girl for me. And she's like, no, I'm saying no to Pandora because it sounds like something to do.
Yeah, because I'm bored. Yeah.
And then everything makes slightly more sense. But I guess in terms of messaging, for that particular sort of avenue, are we going to be doing anything with doing more than just becoming happy with living on Pandora, even though it sucks? Or is there something else that needed to happen that isn't really in the movie at all? I don't know.
Well, I think mixing, this is another like just nitpick, I guess, but mixing the like first and second games gives you a very, very weird vibe of what's going on Pandora. Because in the first game, all of the settlements are really run down, walled in communities, very ramshackle, usually with one or two people living there who have been almost completely wiped out by bandits.
Yeah, everyone living there is a little bit like off their rocker.
And the entire reason that Sanctuary is a large settlement with a lot of people in it in the second game is because Roland and the revamped Crimson Lance Rebellion have worked hard to create a community and functional civilization.
Yes.
Gather in everybody that is looking for a new home, and we'll make it together.
Yeah, if I remember, the most built-up settlement in the first game is literally like in a garbage dump.
Yes, and it still looks like it's teetering on the brink of collapsing at any second.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's all just like ramshackle like structures and stuff like that.
So in a weird way, they just have this super functioning large city for no reason, and it just gives you the impression that everyone here is actually doing pretty fine.
Yeah, Pandora doesn't seem that bad. As long as you avoid the big weird tentacle monsters in the piss gully, you should be good.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not as terrible.
Which also, I don't know what that was supposed to be. It's a dumb thing to focus on, but fully canonically, skags do not pee.
That's true. They like vomit out their mouth or something horrible, right? Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have they have a two-way digestive system.
Because Pandora's weird, yeah. Also, yeah, Piss Wash Gully is another name from the first game. Except in the game, it's not literally piss. It's just like a place that sucks, so they named it Piss Wash. But in this movie, it's literally piss.
Yes, it's filled with piss.
Very good.
Which is this like an elephant graveyard situation?
It's just completely in the air, completely pumping up.
I guess it has to be the tentacle monster's piss, right?
Yeah, which
that's the only thing it could be.
Also, because I spent so long learning the stupid lore, the tentacle monsters shouldn't be there yet. They're an invasive species that only came after Hyperion took over.
Yes, it's true. I believe like Hammerlock introduced them to the ecosystem.
Yes.
Whoops.
Yeah. Because that's why he has that's how he lost his leg in the game.
And arm and eye.
Thresher took it. Yeah. Because I believe the pre-sequel reveals they're from the moon.
Yes, they lived on one of the moons. And then Hammerlock accidentally introduced them as an invasive species.
Whoops. Damn it, Hammerlock.
And one thing that I want to make sure I mention, even though it seems like we're winding down a little because we're running out of things to talk about, but the one thing,
go ahead.
The one most iconic thing that is part of the marketing, it's part of the collector's edition for the games. It's like the one thing that anybody who's ever seen anything about Borderlands would recognize as a Borderlands thing. Where is my big red chest?
Yeah, you click the button and it folds out and you get the gun display. Yeah.
They should be just randomly around the landscape.
There's nothing. You could have, you had Marcus there. They could have gone to the city. Marcus could have said, I will upgrade your guns. He could have kicked open a chest. It could have unfolded into fancy new guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He has a line to Nox, I think, at some point where he's like, oh, I never forget a gun. Oh, do you want to trade?
Yeah.
but that's like the last time we see him. So it's like,
it really is. Yeah, it is such a shame because I really do think he's
He's
good.
the only one who does seem to be
genuinely
enjoying
good.
himself. I'll say
He's
that.
the only one who seems like he understands like the tone of the games.
Yes, he obviously went in and watched every Marcus scene in the games because he got the voice right, he got the mannerisms pretty right. He's the one who knows what's going on.
yes.
The little like display on the bus he says of like, oh, so you want to be a vault hunter, and he has the little video and stuff. That's like the most Borderlands thing in the whole movie.
And they keep interrupting it with what I can only imagine is they did 10 takes of her saying, I don't want to be a vault hunter, and they decided they were going to use all 10 takes, damn it.
Yep. I would have loved to have Marcus just keep showing up randomly through the latter half of the movie. It's like, why are you here? I was walking through. Would you like to buy a gun?
And even just one thing of him like wandering through later, picking all the guns off the bandits.
That would have been great. Yeah, that's how he gets his merchandise.
Recycling. Yeah. I guess if it wasn't a Borderlands movie, how would you feel about this film?
If it wasn't a Borderlands movie, I mean, even ignoring all the ways it's a terrible adaptation, it's just a very boring movie.
Yeah, if it wasn't trying to be a Borderlands movie, there'd be no reason
What even is it?
for anything.
Yeah.
Like, it would be such a generic sci-fi movie. It would be one of those movies that like came out and you saw a bunch of marketing for and no one saw, and then 10 years later someone made a thing that's like, this movie wasn't as bad as you remember, and you go, what is that? I don't.
What movie? I'm suddenly remembering that one Mars movie where there's like, I don't know, ghosts or something like that, and it's bad.
Yeah, that one. See, now that you say that, I remember seeing a trailer for that.
Yeah, it's like that one.
Oh yeah, there's like a 10 billion sci-fi movies that get made all the time, and it's just like most of them just fade into the ether because they're not very good.
I think what's very, very unique, like almost completely unique about this movie as an adaptation is now that we're in the era of making decent video game adaptations. I don't think I've seen one that's amazing yet, but they make decent ones now.
I think the Fallout show is pretty damn good.
It's pretty good. I will say that I have some major problems with the story pacing and things, which is why I say they haven't made like an amazing adaptation yet.
Sure.
You know, they make good ones. And somehow this...
Yeah, we're on our third Sonic movie.
And this movie somehow manages to not only not be a good video game movie, but it also isn't one of the bad video game movies. I will unironically enjoy the first Mario movie.
Mm-hmm. 1993.
It's ridiculous and funny. And like same with like the weird, utterly baffling decisions they made with the Doom movie. Like as an adaptation, it somehow manages to get enough right that it looks like the thing it's trying to be, but not get enough wrong to be interesting.
I think there's other... I haven't watched the Assassin's Creed movie, but I have a feeling that's probably quite similar.
I was wondering if you were going to, since you just finished up your whole retrospective.
No. I suppose I should, but it doesn't really appeal to me because I've only ever heard that it's really boring.
Which I do think that given this, we had the games to talk about, and I still feel like we're running out the things to talk about with this movie, because I could see, like, if we had just tried to talk about this movie, this would have been a 20-minute episode.
Yeah. But hey, it is more than its some parts, because it is trying to be the sum of other parts of other things. Yeah, I was going to bring up the Super Mario Brothers movie, but you guys already did that for me, so I guess I have to talk about the Double Dragon movie instead. Or maybe I don't. Anyway.
No, you don't. No, I agree.
So, okay, I think we have wrung as much as, well, more. I was going to say as much as this deserves. We've wrung way more than this deserves out of this film.
Probably, yeah.
So it's probably time for us to start wrapping things up with the Galaxy's favorite game show!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show, where our various contestants here are look a little bit more animated than I would have expected given the film, but maybe this is the video game versions of all these folks. Just trying to...
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
But we'll see how this rolls. Anyway, our first prize to hand out is the Berserker Button prize, which goes to Krieg for getting all like this kind of all the time, but especially when Tita's threatened. What does Krieg win, Gepwin?
Krieg wins a meat bicycle.
That's good. That's exactly what I was going to say if you picked me.
I'm glad everyone's on the same page here. Meat bicycles for everyone.
Yeah, because that's the award that we all agree on ahead of time, of course.
Our second prize is the Backstory Rewrite prize, which goes to Tina Tina, who got a new backstory, and to make her much more essential to the plot, as opposed to being a deranged bomb enthusiast. What does Tina win, Kyle?
I suppose she wins a good old-fashioned badunk-dunk, a big old missile that she can blow stuff up with.
Excellent, and maybe she'll use it to break a hole of the fourth wall so it can all get out of this film here.
She does do that sometimes, so...
Our third prize is the Real Western Hero prize, which goes to Lilith and Roland for being badass gunslingers, just kind of in general. Roland even gets to have an apparent last stand that he survives because he has plot armor. What do they win, Gepwin?
They win the actual last stand. It would have been cool to have Roland go down and then shoot one guy and then get revitalized. I don't know how they would have done it visually, but give me the last stand mechanic, damn it.
Oh yeah, that would be clever.
You shoot the guy, and suddenly a medical kit pops out of his armor somewhere, and it's like, oh, hey.
Or just Dr. Zed at all.
Yeah, that's another thing. The healing items in the game are these big, horrible needles that you stab into yourself.
A few more of those, and you're good to go. Our next one is the Adventure Party, which goes to Tina, Krieg, Roland, Lilith, Tanis, and Claptrap, I guess, because they're together. They're going on adventure together. What do they win, Kyle?
Well, of course, they win the power of friendship.
I appreciate
the real
that.
Borderlands were the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. The real Borderlands movie was the friends we made along the way.
Making it a power of friendship movie, I think that might have been an improvement, too, on what we got. And actually, assuming they followed through with the whole plot and theme. Anyway... The next prize is the Fooled You prize, which goes to Mr. Atlas for his extensive use of hologram to keep himself safe and or to surprise the heroes. What does he win, Gepwin?
Atlas wins Stalker Spit, which is canonically how Handsome Jack cloaks himself in the second game.
Accurate. Yes.
Just pour it all over yourself. It's good to go, right? And our final prize here is the Everybody Loves Robots prize, which goes to Claptrap. Despite it being Claptrap. What does Claptrap win, Kyle?
Well, it's unfortunate to say this, but I think he does win physical assault from Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford.
Good luck, Claptrap.
I don't know if that's too soon or...
It was 7 or 8 years ago, I think. It's a reference to something that came up earlier in the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's continuity.
So you're doing a through line. We foreshadowed.
Yes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
This podcast is a better narrative arc than the movie. Thank you very much.
That's all I got here for today, my friends here. So feel free, either one of you, take me away, and we'll see you on the far side of the border, I suppose.
Yes, thank you to everyone who joined us here for this weird opening chest of guns we call the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show. So I forgot to mention one thing that reminded me in there. No one gets hurt the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. It did say that Roland doesn't have a single scratch after surviving, but yeah, no one ever gets injured.
No one gets shot, no one gets injured, no one has a scratch on them the whole time.
Every time they blow up, they just sort of shake it off.
Character shields, I guess they got those instead of actual shields.
Well, you've got plot armor, you don't need a shield. So
they could have done the shields, and they could have done the electric guns to not technically kill people, and they could have done all the robots, and they could have had as much violence as they wanted and still kept a PG-13 rating.
There was the bit where Krieg's forcing people's faces into this possibly acidic fluid here, and they're all steaming, but it's not really gory at all. It's just more of it looks like it probably hurts or stings.
Yeah.
But that's as far as they went, I guess.
So I'm gonna say, with as much shit as we gave this movie and the whole thing, thank you for choosing something that let us talk about what is legitimately one of my favorite video game franchises.
Oh, you're very welcome. I love Borderlands as well at the end of the day. The game, not the movie.
It's got problems. It's very of its time. It's still of its time somehow, even though it's got another game coming out now.
Play Borderlands. Don't watch the movie, I suppose, is maybe our advice.
Don't watch the movie. Borderlands 2 is pretty cheap, and you don't need to have played the first one to get it, and it's really good.
Yeah, and they go on sale all the time.
In fact, I started with Borderlands 2.
A lot of people did, I think.
I'm the only one who's played through the games in order. Except I still haven't gotten to the pre-sequel, or 3, because I'm started over a bit ago. But anyway, thanks for coming on. This was a great fun.
Yes.
Well, you're very welcome.
For joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Go subscribe to Kyle the Scott.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, very amazing. I'm going to say amazing video game videos and other videos, because some of your other videos that you've come out with, those the Star Trek ones, and your really good video on transvestigation, which I think is one of my favorites.
Yes. Oh, thank you. That one did kind of explode, so...
Unfortunately, we're in the U.S. Looking at a time where there will probably be more transvestigations going on. Ugh.
Yeah, not great.
There's nothing we can do about that, and you've already escaped to Canada.
So there is something we can do about it, Gepwin. We can annoy the transvestigators by talking about Double Dragon the film.
That's your next episode, right? That's what you're teasing right now.
Thankfully, no, actually.
Yes, because now we're going to go step on Stephanie Sterling's turf and do a 3-way podcast about video game adaptations.
It's going to get complicated.
So yes, once again, thanks for coming on. Go subscribe to Kyle, because amazing videos. Go check out the podcast. I think the only big social media thing I saw you on was Blue Sky.
Yeah, I have a Blue Sky. I don't really post there much, but I do have a Blue Sky account.
Yeah, so do I.
Don't we all?
So, all right, for other viewers who know we do other things, just quickly, next time, I don't know when, because we are still on our mid-season break to work ahead and get a rest from doing the whole thing, but we will be returning to Best of Both Worlds Part 2, where the captain is probably coming back, we're pretty sure.
Because,
I don't know. He was going to blow up at the end of that last episode.
Yeah, he might blow up. I still think it would have been a really interesting alternate timeline where Picard wound up just being a reoccurring villain for the rest of the series.
I guess they sort of did that with Tasha Yar.
Yeah, they did that with Yar, which did work out well, but she gets to have more character than Picard the Borg.
Yeah.
The whole Tasha Yar alternative timeline daughter thing here, it's a complicated revenge plot, but it is Yar's revenge, so...
Yeah, it's rough.
That was a terrible force joke.
Can't catch a break.
Yes, thanks everybody for listening. Next week, Best of Both Worlds Part 2.
Next week? What do you mean next week?
Oh yeah,
whenever.
Next something. Next whenever.
Our next episode will be best of it.
I'm too used to saying next week, and it's a problem.
Yeah. We're running out of steam here. Help us! Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Earth is doomed! You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and listen to Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Digital Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Google Play, and many more places where podcasts can be found. If you enjoyed our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on YouTube as Gepwin and on Pillowfort. You may find Dr. Isix, on YouTube and Blue Sky. Music is Waveform and Maury's Principle, both by DRKRN, and Quirky Dog by Kevin MacLeod. Check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. You may also find Watchers of Tomorrow on Tumblr. Make sure to share the experience of Watchers of Tomorrow with your friends, loved ones, enemies, alien overlords, and your doppelganger from the mirror dimension. Have a good day, and ahead, warp factor heckin' fast.